Right then, let's get cracking on this week's Mammoth Street Talk. 8 episodes we've got to cover this week. And it was an all right week, I think, is my initial thoughts. Let's see if I still think that towards the end. You got any first reactions, gut reactions to this week's Corrie? Wedding drama, Leanne going, DNA results?
No. So you've got... Sorry, no, there's plenty. I don't understand why you're preambling. There's so much to do.
No. All right, fine. So we'll start off with I've merged together the Leanne of Duty and the petering out stories. For some reason, I mean, Peter, Simon are kind of the
kind of related.
The crossover. They're kind of semi-related, and I think if they weren't,
they're literally related.
They are related. The two stories are semi-related, and I think that if I hadn't merged them together, then I'd probably regret it somewhere towards the middle of the week anyway. So we'll do with that first, and then we'll do the next story, they're making a mountain out of a troll hill, which still is kind of verging on the insanely ridiculously overblown to me. Next we've got the cutting ties story, although this week it should really be christened rutting ties because of that little development. Well, maybe it's a big development and that's why she enjoyed it so much. I don't know. Who's the granddaddy? We know now. We'll find out later on. Snarky and George, Faye put away. And then a little bit of Seb and Nina budding towards the end of the week, which I think kind of has got promises some possibly fun scenes next week if Seb goes along with the full goth get-up to go along to this concert with Nina.
I get the feeling Nina will not find it endearing if he dresses up.
I don't know. We'll see. We will see when we get there. In a couple of hours' time, probably. So the Leanne, Peter, Nick, Carla, Barlow's everyone's
Wedding
story.
Of the century.
Monday. So this is all last Friday's episodes. Remember, they got pushed forward to the beginning of this week. There was a lot of Corrie on this week, and it started off with Toya and Imran going around the flat to see Leanne, and she says that she's going to give a witness statement to the police, then bugger right off into witness protection. She's very, very fretty about it, but she is still at this point insistent that she's not telling Nick about it. Speaking of telling Nick, we have Dev speaking to him later about the horrors of being taken down the station. And one thing I really did appreciate at the beginning of the week, as ridiculous as this is, but I think Dev could always get away with it in my eyes, was him overblowing how horrifying and whatever it was to be taken down the police station and being accused of being Mr. Big behind the drug smuggling outfit that's running out of his chip shop. Very fun stuff. Also, he tells them that they released Simon, and this is all news to Nick because as far he hasn't known anything that's been going on with Simon being arrested or anything. And fortunately, Imran's passing, and he kind of admits to Nick that he sort of knew about it, but you can't really tell him anything at this point. He needs to go and speak to Leanne. Thank goodness there's always somebody passing by you in Coronation Street when you need to find something out or overhear something, etc., etc. Peter, meanwhile, has heard what's happened to Simon at last. And we think we were talking on the podcast last week, weren't we, about the fact that all this drama's going on with Peter's son and he's none the wiser. He learns about it on Monday morning / Friday, goes round the flat to have a go at Simon and also moan at Leanne for taking Simon away for the Easter holidays, which is what she's saying she's doing at the moment. Simon's like, what do you know about parenting anyway, Dad, when he tries to berate her for... Basically, in his eyes, it's rewarding him for being involved in this drug smuggling thing. And Leanne tries to explain, but... I tried to tell you, Peter, what was going on, but Carla stopped me. She was trying to protect you. This was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? And Carla told Peter that Leanne was fretting about Simon's work or something. I can't remember, but it's something like that. Yeah, it was. So it's basically Carla's fault, says Leanne.
Yeah, it's Carla's fault. Back
home, Peter is feeling useless, and Peter all this week. I do quite like Peter. He is a bit pathetic, but he's a resilient bugger, isn't he? He dragged himself to that altar today, and I still think that Chris Gascoigne is doing a really, really fantastic job. I think he's certainly one of the best of the male actors on the show. I find him very, very believable, and as much as his storyline, his romantic storyline, his liver failure storyline is kind of circling around the same old path. I think he is doing a jolly good job at showing, at being a recovering alcoholic. Anyway, Carla apologised. He is, very yellow and cold. Carla apologises, and she's happy to see that Peter is kind of strong and thinking about his future, though. He is getting better. At this point, we still don't know that they're going to be getting married later on in the week.
What?
I know. Nick hears about Leanne's trip later on from Carla. Again, very handily. Was it Carla? Oh, no. Yeah, he hears about Leanne's trip from Carla and from Toya, who also very conveniently happens to be there. I think Toya and Imran are just loitering around the hot spots of the street this week in the hope that they might be dragged into somebody's story. I mean, Toya was right to be in the speed dial today, because that's where everyone goes at the moment, isn't it, for their little dramas? And she got a little scene to herself. Was it?
She was in the bistro doing the
I thought it was speed dial.
No,
maybe you're right.
Because Bernie had a voucher.
Yeah.
For half off the bistro, not half off.
Oh, I thought it was speed dial. Anyway, it shows what I know. I wasn't looking. Anyway, Nick is now
up to
speed with what's going on, kind of.
Do they sell mussels?
Why?
In speed dial? Do they have lovely curry mussels?
Yeah. Oh, Gemma had some nice mussels. We went out for dinner today. Well, late lunch, early tea. First time in about 6 months, and Gemma had some mussels.
I had Moules Marinier avec frites.
Yes, lovely.
And there were a bunch of lads on a table nearby getting plastered on really low alcohol cider.
Yes, we
like 3 in, they were all completely soused.
We went to Portsmouth, didn't we? In tribute
That's where
to
they
Peter.
have the people that do that kind of thing. Not round here, of course. We don't drink cider.
Ken's not going down to Portsmouth
sparkling
while he's in
Southampton.
Ken is in Southampton, isn't he? He's visiting an old teacher friend who's on his last legs, apparently.
Is that you,
Not
Michael?
Not me. I'm fine,
Don't
everybody.
worry, Michael, listen, can I just say, if you are, you can tell me.
No, I'm okay.
Because you're insured up to the nostrils.
I'm not smuggling Ken anywhere here.
Is that what they call it?
Smuggling
when you're pretending to be when you're sick and you pretending to be strong, doing a smuggling a Ken.
Peter's got this appointment, hasn't he? The can I have a new kidney? Why do I think it's kidney? Can I have a new liver, please? Appointment,
Well,
and he's
Michael,
worried
to be
about
fair,
that.
It's quite fashionable on Corrie to get a kidney transplant.
I know, Carla. They're in the transplant club, him and his new wife, aren't
Tracy.
they? Yeah. He's worried about that. He's worried about Simon. Ken's not there to help him. Oh, no drama.
Why don't you have a drink?
Nick goes to see Leanne, and she basically unloads onto him everything that's been going on. He gets the full story from her. She says why she's been so distant.
One nice thing about this week, with all the things that were being pushed on Peter, it was really, really nice and refreshing to see him not even consider having a drink.
That is very true. There were no scenes of him eyeing the bottle, were there?
There was no temptation here whatsoever. I don't know enough about what it's like to be an alcoholic to say. I don't think you ever can really say. Well, some people do, some people don't. Like, can you ever really say that you're cured or whatever? But if there was ever a time that he was going to relapse, it would be now.
Yes.
Because although he's got something to look forward to that we don't know that he does yet, which is the wedding, still quite a lot of other things going a bit wrong. And it really is interesting, like, what coping mechanism has he replaced alcohol with? We don't really know. They haven't
Jigsaws.
They haven't addressed this in the show, but it would be nice to know what he was. Maybe likes listening to podcasts about himself while he wears his blanket on his head.
He was talking about listening to a podcast, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was. He did mention that this week.
Podcasts advertised on Coronation.
There were some really nice little reunion scenes with Nick and Leanne in this episode, and I know again lots of people are fed up of them, but I'm a bit of a sucker for Nick and Leanne.
If you're fed up with Nick and Leanne, what the hell would you think about bloody Peter and Carla then?
No. So she tells him everything. She says, "Oh, I've been pushing you away because I didn't want you to get in trouble with it as well. I made you think that I don't love you when I actually do." And he does this little smile and he promises that he'll always be there for her. It's very cute.
This is what Johnny tried to do to Jenny.
Yeah, it is actually, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't like this trope of that soap because this is not realistic behaviour. I don't think anybody does this in real life.
Oh, I don't know. Leanne says, "Look, I might have to go away for a long time. I can't come home until I know that Simon's safe. And I can't make Nick between me and Sam.
You can't make Nick choose.
And I can't make Nick choose. And he tells her to come back as soon as she can. Oh, very teary, very sad. And Simon's there at the door listening in and having a bit of a cry as well. He kind of feels a bit guilty because it was he got them into this trouble to begin with. At the hospital, Peter is told that his liver hasn't improved. The only option now is to get him on the transplant list, but he's going to need to be assessed first. Can his body take it? Is he going to look after it? Does he have a supportive family who are going to be able to make sure that he doesn't go back on the bottom again?
Please investigate my family.
And he promises he can, otherwise this is game over for him. And then finally, this is when we get to find out about the little secret that Carla and Peter have been harbouring this week, because Carla gets a delivery of wedding rings at the factory with this bizarre scene where this jeweller comes in. Who was it? One of the factory workers thinks that doesn't know what they're delivering, and then they're saying that he's delivering cheese. It was very oddly written.
This reminds me of the scenes where we had the Irish comedian came in and was selling either Aidan or
I think it was Aidan.
Wedding rings for
Eva.
Cathy,
And
we saw them filming that scene.
So
that's why it sticks in my mind.
I didn't even think of that. So they are getting
because
married.
In Coronation Street, you don't go to a jeweller. You have a guy who comes in to your pub or your place of business with the most dodgy looking collection of things that you pick, like we said, we've been watching rewatching Lost recently, and there's the episode where Sawyer's teaching his lady friend how to be a con artist, and he has the selection of fake gold necklaces, and he puts little tags on them to make out they're worth thousands of dollars, and she buys them off of them for like a couple of $100 to make other people want to buy them. And that's what it reminds me of. I always think if you don't buy it from a jewelry shop, you're being scammed.
We had Nick telling Sarah and David what's going on. What's he going to do? Oh, I don't know. Should I go off with my girlfriend? Should I stay with my son? Oh, the drama. Leanne's getting ready to go. Meanwhile, Simon's still looking upset about it. He doesn't want to leave on a row with his dad. What if it makes him drink again? And Leanne and Toy say, look, just do whatever you think is right, Simon. So he goes off and has a little reconciliation chat with Peter on the bench. And Peter says, look, when you get back, you can come and live with me and Carla if you like. I promise I'll be a better dad. So that was quite nice. Nick makes his decision. He has decided to go off with Leanne. He says he's coming with you. Leanne does a nice little smile. Again, lovely, lovely stuff. But I can totally sympathise with the viewers at home who are baying for Nick's blood for abandoning his newly discovered son in this. But you see, he just can't live without her. He says, I've loved you for 23 years and I'll love you for 23 more and beyond.
I really thought that was sweet.
It was really sweet. I mean, if you, it doesn't really hold up to scrutiny because, I mean, there's probably at least a decade within that 23 years when he had no interest in her whatsoever.
If that was a prison sentence, I guess he thought he got half off for good behaviour.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that he's promising that there isn't going to be another gap of 10 years in the following 23 years.
I'll love you for 23 more on and off.
Yeah, she says that, look, we might be going away forever, but he's absolutely sure about this. Carla, meanwhile, comes home and Peter says what's going on vis-a-vis the liver transplant. He's terrified that the assessment the next week, whatever you want to call it, isn't going to go well.
Yeah, so he's had his meeting. His appointment to say you're going to need something, and they're going to assess you, and then he's going to have to go and have that done.
Yes. Nick has to go and break the news to Sam and Natasha. Pretty teary scene there between Nick and Sam because he's only just got to know his dad. Natasha is pretty mad about this.
I thought she was completely in the right here. I mean, I like Sam. For some reason, I don't care that Nick's left him because I don't think it's permanent.
I know what you mean.
Like, the thing is, he has made this decision and it is really out of order, but I just don't think it's going to be for very long. Like, they haven't lost Nick, Leanne and Simon for more than a few months at most. So I'm not actually mad about it, and I don't think it's going to be for very long.
I know, it's really hard to take a step back as a viewer and not think, if this was real life,
If this was real life, it'd be completely
It's a horrible
unacceptable.
decision, and maybe it's worse. Maybe it's bad for us because there's lots of people listening saying, "No, he's got it. His son. He is his son. He's got no relation to Simon. He's got no relation to Leanne. They're not. He's got his flesh and blood here, and we're like, you know, us childless people saying, oh, it's fine. Have a bit of a breather for her. He's been looking after Sam all this time while Natasha was swanning off in London. It's, you know,
I don't
her
think
turn now.
I have a very high opinion of adults who pick romantic love over their children. Like whenever I hear about families where, oh yeah, my dad married a new woman and she doesn't like me and my dad kicked me out, you know, I think that's just the most tragic thing I've ever heard in my life. But because I know this is not for very long.
Nick's also been pining after Leanne and sort of confused about why she's been rebuffing him for the past month or so now.
Naughty lady.
And I mean, it makes me wonder, like, because we haven't seen any of them in their little hidey hole, have we? Is he still, you know, a week later thinking that he's made the right decision, or is he regretting it by this point? I don't know.
I feel bad that I don't care as much as I should do about this, but you know, I've only got so many. I can only be outraged about so many things at a time, and
Tyrone is filling up quite a lot of our outrage.
But I will say, Natasha was completely right. What she said, she was furious with him, and she knew all along this was going to happen because she said to him at the very beginning, I'm not going to let you back into Sam's life if you're going to turn around and you're going to abandon him. And he did exactly what she was worried about happening.
I think that was honestly, a really smart bit of storylining, actually.
Yeah, really good.
Referring back to that.
I think when Nick comes back, he is going to have a very tough time winning Natasha over.
Not Sam, I don't think.
Sam will forgive him because Sam is a sweet boy, and perhaps the enormity of what has happened might escape him until he gets older and he starts to think to himself, actually now I look back, my dad picked his girlfriend.
Yeah, especially in, let's face it, the not unlikely situation that Nick and Leanne will split up at some point in the future.
They're going to be together for 23 years.
I don't know.
Do you think Nick Price was like, can you
Ben Price
was like, can you put that in my contract?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
What was really sweet with this was...
Sorry, everyone. Well, you know I get names mixed up.
Well, I thought I'm getting livers and kidneys mixed up today. It's fine.
Well, look... You're not a surgeon. I am actually a Coronation Street podcaster. I should be able to remember what people's names are.
What I thought was sweet was when Sam was telling him about this asteroid or a meteor or something that's coming past
He's
later
like,
this
don't worry,
month.
Dad.
We can look at it
Pretty
together.
Soon an asteroid will come and kill everyone. So I won't miss you anymore.
See you
I'll
in another
be
life.
In heaven.
So I thought that was quite sweet. They said they can watch it together. Because they're not allowed to like communicate with text or anything.
No,
it is sad if you give it any length of thought, but
I haven't got the energy also this was an 8-episode week.
I think maybe what Nick might be thinking is that when I come back, because I don't think he does really believe it's forever. No. He knows he'll be able to get Sam back, but if he stayed,
that's taking him for granted.
Well, yeah. I know, but you know, if he stayed, there is, you know, there's not an impossible chance that Leanne will move on. She'll find somebody else.
Well, not just that, but also that she could be in danger.
Yeah. But
I don't think he really thinks that, but he wants to protect her. Sam's not in danger. Sam's got his mum. Who's Leanne got? She's got a son who's done his best, but basically made everything worse by becoming a drug dealer.
I mean, you say Sam's not in danger, but if Harvey's cronies come looking for Nick and Leanne, they're going to be questioning all of his, you know, associates on the street. Where is he? And although nobody knows, there could be people coming after Sam. There could be people coming after Natasha, Toya and Imran. No, nobody was asking Toya and Imran after that Monday episode, were they? Do you have any idea where Leanne? They weren't even there for the big goodbye at the end. And this was a massive public waving off on the end of Monday's episode, wasn't it? Where they were trying to secretly disappear into the night without anybody realising about it. They were just doing it in the middle of the street with Sarah Louise.
Push you away with me,
It basically, yeah, it was.
Wheel out the piano.
David and Sarah Lou got to say goodbye, but that was about it. So I'd be a bit
I mean,
if I was
again,
Toya, shunned again.
Weatherfield Police not really doing any work. Like, surely they would be like, no, we're going to put you in a van. You're not driving yourself to being in hiding.
Yeah.
Surely you don't drive yourself to your hideout.
I don't know. This is what they just give him a postcode to put into their sat nav.
So that's a really nice Airbnb. Do you know what? There's loads of really cheap ones at the moment because nobody can go.
They must be having some kind of budget cuts or financial troubles at the police station at the moment. Otherwise, they wouldn't be desperately recruiting useless plods to be their latest detectives.
Yeah. Do you think they're like, right, so here's your postcode, use your own car, check in under your pseudonyms, we're giving you Bick.
Don't tell anyone.
Bick and Rianne. And Lyman.
Gail didn't get to say goodbye either, did she? It was quite nice, and it was really sad to see with Sam saying his little baby goodbye at the window, wasn't he? Like, he looked like he was there ready to do his BAFTA award-winning speech, like Helen Worth did a couple of years ago. Was it BAFTA? I can't remember, but
I think so.
Didn't get anything to say.
Best soliloquy.
Yeah, so Nick would have to have a heart of stone not to, at this point in the week, even like be having the briefest of thoughts of.
What have I done?
Have I done the wrong thing?
Am I a
here?
massive toe rag?
Yeah.
Because he is. But this is a really difficult choice to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so anyway, they made a huge song and dance about leaving. As did Cathy, actually, later on this week. It's like, I'm going, Brian. I'm leaving you. You're never going to find out where I am. Don't try and contact me. Bye, bye, bye. Moving in next door.
Really nonsense.
Anyway, also at the end of that episode, Carla is very excited to show Peter the rings. He's dead chuffed.
Show us your rings.
Show us your ring. We didn't get a show us your ring scene at the wedding today. That was Maria and Gary's forte, wasn't it? That was a little speciality. Anyway, he doesn't care if his family mind about them getting married in secret or not. All he wants is for her to be his wife. Or what could possibly go wrong? On to Tuesday's episode now. They've had a cancellation at the hospital, the clinic or wherever, and Peter can go along to get his liver assessment done today.
Can you come in for your liver assessment? The guy that was in front of you's died. I think we're going to try speed him up a bit now because
they didn't do a very good job. The liver assessor guy left the room halfway through the meeting, then come back again. So.
The nurse is like, "Are you going to go back in there?" And he's like, "Oh." You know how they're normally a bit crazy. This is, it's tragic though. There's a bit of a scandal going on in I don't know if it's just NHS England or if it's the whole of the UK. 5 million people waiting for checkups and important things, and there's going to be a lot of people, unfortunately, that are not going to make appointments for it. This would have been a very good thing to have talked about. In the show, I don't know. I think they're wary of getting too heavy about the COVID stuff because I think we've all agreed we don't really want to hear stories about COVID right now. Maybe in 5 years' time, but yeah, massive scandal on the horizon.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, so they're going off to their meeting later.
I mean, it's not. I say scandal, but I don't see what you could do about it.
Platts are talking about what they're going to tell everybody. Gail's miffed because she didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Nick.
I wanted to blink.
Adam recommends that they downplay this whole situation, and Gail curses Leanne, which is a nice little throwback to what we're watching on ITV3 at the moment, where she's gone and secretly married Nick in Scotland, and Gail hates her, and it's and she's basically dragged that back up again.
This, I just say, as far as rekindling, like, very old romances that go round and round in circles, well, you've got Nick and Leanne running off together, you know, like you said before, 23 years. You've got Carla and Peter marrying one another for the second time this week. You got Peter having his second deathbed wedding.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me...
Almost 10 years on from his last one. 10 years ago, he was just recovering from that.
I apologise if you're eating, but this is Coronation Street eating its own sick. This is what it reminds me of. Like, vomiting up these stories and then going, ooh, there's a tasty morsel I might have missed there. Let's redigest this and see if we can get anything else out of it.
That's horrible.
Sorry, but this is what it feels like.
Not a bad analogy, not bad at all.
We called this the Weatherfield washing machine because they churn the characters around, and it's only a few in the storyline. You got Leanne, Nick, Peter, Carla.
They're the main ones, aren't they?
And they just
they're
round
the main
and
bit of
round,
dirty
swap each
linen.
other over.
Yeah, and then they come out dirty, then they went in. That was
Gross,
it, wasn't it?
yeah.
So Adam tells Carla about everybody going off and doing a runner and saying, look, we need to tell Peter about what's going on. She doesn't think it's a really good idea, though, what with everything that's going on in his life at the moment. And he says, oh, I'll hold off for a bit, but we'll tell him straight after the meeting. Because they're all going off to the... No, they don't all go off to the meeting, do they? It's just Carla and Peter. They have a Zoom meeting. Oh, it's so modern. So Daniel, Tracy and Carla are gathering together at number 1 for a pre-meeting meeting. Tracy, at this point, suspects that Carla has been drinking because she's going off doing all sneaky.
She's obviously really happy and stuff, and she doesn't... Tracy's like, why? I'm suspicious.
Yeah.
And they all talk together about how they shouldn't say about all the things that Peter's done wrong in his life in the meeting. Because they don't...
They need to come across as a united front and a supportive family, and Peter's got a perfectly normal life. So Daniel tells Tracy that Carla has been strangely evasive later, and they wonder whether she is cheating on Peter with Lucas, who makes a brief appearance, doesn't he? Tyrone suspects that Alina's having a bit of a thing with Lucas as well later on in the week. I don't know whether he had any lines or not.
I mean, he's universally admired in Weatherfield as a grade A stud, obviously.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, who's that guy? Who's having an affair with him? Somebody must be. If not, it's a bit of a waste of talent, isn't it?
Carla turns up to the face-to-face meeting with Peter, and he can see that she's pretty stressed at the moment, and she says that she had a bit of a to-do with Daniel where he was kind of accusing her of being back on booze and stuff again.
She can drink.
Well, she's...
I know, but I'm just saying, she can drink.
And then we have the meeting. And
I don't know where they were going with this. I thought this was a bit of a damp squid.
Don't say that. It felt ever so slightly that they were trying to recapture the magic of the AA meeting without some of the crucial components. I mean,
like a funny character, because they kind of made Tracy, and they tried. I mean, you had Steve and Tracy sitting very far apart from one another, very, very obviously, which is kind of stupid because we've had Zoom things before. We sat in the same room. You've been on your phone and I've been on my phone. You don't need to be in the same screen. And so Steve kept like muting it so that she couldn't talk because she kept bringing up Lucas.
She was kind of being the Blanche, I suppose, where she was.
It was like It was illogical because she was trying to throw Carla under the bus to indicate that because she was like, oh, you're screwing over my brother, you know, you're part of the reason he's like this. But that's not what we're trying to get out of this meeting, Tracy. We're not trying to find out who's to blame and like give out dire warnings about the future of Peter's new liver in the hands of Carla, the evil witch. We're trying to convince this guy to give him the liver in the first place, and he's never going to give him a liver if like the whole relatives are talking about.
Yeah, I thought that
really
I don't believe that Tracy, and I know what she's like and everything, but she has turned a corner a bit in the last few years, and I don't believe she would be that stupid as to try and sabotage her brother's chance at staying alive
just to get one over on Carla. Because
who she's best friends with again by the end of the week.
Why is she mad about Carla? Because she wants Peter to be protected and she wants the best for Peter. Yeah. So to then talk about that during the meeting that she's not supposed to bring it up because it would reflect badly on Peter doesn't make any logical sense. Like even a psychopath would know to keep your mouth shut.
She was just being obnoxious for drama and plot's sake, and it didn't gel to me with what Tracy is like for me at the moment, and Steve having to mute her.
That was kind of funny, but it could have been better. I thought it was.
It could have been better.
Opportunity.
And I don't know whether they were thinking of the AA scene, but I mean, without Blanche, it's never going to work, and without Ken there in his, embarrassment
Exclamations.
about being in the middle of this, and Deirdre being ashamed of her mum and everything. It just didn't quite hit the mark.
It's a shame
for me.
because they are missing a character like that in the Barlow clan.
It's a shame that Ken couldn't have joined them. I mean, he's only in Southampton. We do have internet here.
No, we remember we're banned as an entire city, banned from Zoom for that time I was mooning on it. Sorry, everybody.
But anyway, we know really why Ken's not able to be there. It's because William Roach was getting over a bit of COVID, so we'll let him off. I've lost where I am in my notes completely now. The meeting, the bloke who's running the meeting is like, stuff this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to let you deal with your personal family issues, and then I'll come back later to tie this all up, which I don't think he does. Where are we? So
they're like, Daniel says the reason why Tracy's being an idiot is because she thinks you're having an affair.
Yeah, so this is where Carla has to
Peter and
fess
Carla
up about this wedding.
Look at each other like, oh, they know the secret, shall we say?
Yeah, so they agree to tell. Well, they tell everybody about the wedding. Daniel's kind of chuffed for them. He's just relieved that she's not having an affair. And then Carla decides that this is the perfect moment, as we're, speaking our truths now, as Toya put it later in this week. I'm going to tell you all about the real reason why Simon isn't here. He's not really going off on his Easter holidays. He's on the run from a drugs lord. Peter feels pretty awful that they've had to keep this from him. And Carla and Daniel are trying to do their best to get him to push Simon out of his mind for the next few days and concentrate on his health. And to be fair, he kind of does. Did he?
This is what I said.
And he mentioned Simon briefly today, I think.
Do you think he's got one of those 3D jigsaws now or something?
Why?
Because he's very focused on everything except Simon.
Maybe.
And his liver.
Carla hears at the end of the episode that Nick and Leanne have put their flat on the market and want it cleared. So it feels like they're saying we're going to be away for a while here, a good long time. Peter's terrified he's never going to see his son again, especially if he doesn't get on this transplant list. This could have been the last time he's ever seen him. Yeah. So Wednesday, Peter wakes up. He's had a rough night, but he's determined to go through this wedding thing on Friday. Gail, meanwhile, is cleaning the office at the factory, and you can't have Gail with a mop and rubber gloves on without getting the word bottoming somewhere in the script. I think it's in the rule book somewhere. It's old. I'm tired of it. Literally, when we saw Gail cleaning in the factory, I went, bottoming. They're going to make a joke out of the word bottoming.
She says something like, "Oh, it's been a long time since I've had a good bottoming," or somebody said.
For heaven's bloody sake! It was funny the first time, but what are we on? Like 5th, 6th, 7th time that they've tried to string the humour out of that word now.
Like, how much is this a well-known, common phrase? I don't think it's not
uncommon. I mean, it's understandable. I think they're just kind of banking on the fact that everyone's forgotten that it's been used before.
What I'm trying to say is, if Coronation Street wants to try to appeal to the youth, maybe don't say bottoming.
Oh, well, I've got some news about that later in the cabin. Okay. You just wait how they're going to appeal to the youth of today.
Can't wait to
Not through podcasts, I'll tell you that. Anyway, Natasha comes round and says, "Are you up for a spot of babysitting? I need somebody to look after Sam." And Gail jumps at the chance.
I like this because I thought Natasha really should have said, "Screw the lot of you, I'm off." But she is doing a really good job of trying to keep some kind of continuity for Sam and building relationships with his extended family, which I think is a very responsible and very good thing for a parent to do.
He's just lost, in inverted commas, his dad, and to tear his grandparents away and his aunts and uncles and all that, and his new best friend cousin Max apparently away from him.
I didn't get the impression that Natasha was like, "Oh, I'm desperate, I need anybody."
No,
I think it kind of almost felt like she was saying, "Oh, can you babysit Sam?" But she actually just wanted Gail to spend time with him, and she didn't actually need him to be babysat at all. But you know what, if you get the chance, pop down, have a Costa, pop into Alina's pop-up when she's
get your nails done.
Wipe the seats down first, get your nails done.
Grim. Anyway, it goes well. Gail, Sam's sitting, and he's been playing with Max. I don't know I don't buy this. I mean, the fact that Max wasn't in the scene at all anyway, because Harry has not been seen on the show for many a moon, that didn't fit right. But I just don't see that Max would find
Max.
anything cool, or cause I think Max thinks he's cool, doesn't he?
But I'm just going to say, Max and Lily have never impressed me with having any sort of intelligence or even higher cognitive function beyond
really
moping
not
around and eating biscuits.
I know.
Only because they haven't been given anything to do.
I don't know what Max and Sam would talk about. Max would think he was a massive nerd.
No offence, but even if Max was 35, he wouldn't be on the same intellectual level as Sam.
No. So anyway, he's got a new friend there anyway, apparently. Tracy also tells Peter that he's being selfish by keeping the family away out of the picture for the wedding. And Peter says, look, I just want to keep this very, very low key.
Oh, yeah.
Remember. Meanwhile, Natasha is worried that Sam is going to get too attached to Max. And Gail promises...
Natasha's like, listen, Sam, we don't know if he's going to have a head swap. You've got to remember this. Gail's been in it for ages.
He's been in the show for over 10 years now.
Make friends with Asha. She survived the cull.
Gail says it was a quite sweet scene. Gail saying, "Oh, we're family now. Once you're in it for keeps."
Tell that to Kylie when you tried to pay her off for $1,000 to get rid of her.
Yeah, or just for keeps. It might mean that you end up dying like Joe and Richard and Michael and many of the other men that Gail has welcomed into her life.
I mean, Sam's there going, "Where's my dad? Great day, gay granddad money."
Yeah, very true.
Where's that?
Tracy comes into number one later with a load of wedding flower ideas. She likes the idea that this wedding's happening now because she kind of thinks that she's going along. She assumes that now she's in on the secret. The whole clan are being invited.
Well, can
along,
I just say, if my brother was getting married, I would assume I would be invited.
If he was keeping it a secret from me, I'd kind of assume that maybe they wanted to make it a small intimate do.
I don't understand, apart from the fact that, logistically speaking, it makes more sense because I don't think they can have that many people in a room. Doesn't make any sense to me that they've said, "Oh, we're going to have a low-key secret wedding."
Yeah,
because the whole thing about this is, if there's ever a time when you recognise that your family are the ones that are looking after you, it's now. Peter's been taken in by his dad. His people have rallied round him after time and time again when he's turned around and picked up the bottle again when he knows he's been terrible, and they've helped him and they've stood by him, and he's gone, "Oh yeah, I'm having a secret wedding and none of you are invited." It doesn't make any sense. Like a wedding is a time to bring people together and to celebrate love and family, and when they're all there anyway and you hang around them every day, why are you being such a it seems a bit prickish.
It kind of made sense to me, but the fact that they wanted to keep it so low key, they just literally wanted to be married, which is quite sweet.
I get
and if you invite the family, if you tell the family, then other people want to come along as well. The family start interfering. I mean, yes, Carla looked lovely in her dress today that Nina had made, but she wasn't going to be wearing that if people hadn't found out about it. It already was very, very low key today, wasn't it? And I think literally they would have just turned up, said the vows, gone home, and that would have been it. That's all they wanted.
That's fine if that's what you want. It just felt to me
nice and easy for Peter.
Like it felt It felt to me like it didn't even end up the way he wanted to anyway. So why?
I mean, they could have had. They could have been thinking, well, maybe we have a renewal of vows later on. You know, when I'm feeling better, when I've hopefully got my new liver, when we can afford it, when we can get more people allowed in the room, maybe that's when we can have. Well,
yeah. I'm just saying, I don't care what anybody does. I'm just saying that to me it felt like it was slightly out of character for him, especially now. But you know, he's waited till blimmin' Ken's gone to Southampton. Like, honestly though, Ken stood by Peter for years.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just feels like I guess the thing is, it's really nice to imagine that when you get married, you do it for each other, and it's literally just us two, just for us. It's just about our union, blah blah blah. That's what a marriage is. A wedding is not about that. A wedding is about family and families coming together and celebrating. That's what I think.
Yeah, and in their heads, it was a marriage.
Yeah.
It's
so
similar.
they were like basically going, let's just write down that we're married.
Yeah. I mean, you
Which
can
is
draw
what
comparisons to the Kevin and Abby wedding as well. That's being arranged at the moment as
I
well.
liked
and she
it
doesn't
today when
want...
Abby was like, "Oh, I'm getting married. I'm not having a personality transplant." That was really funny.
So what else? The day of the wedding arrives. Today's episode. Peter comes downstairs looking particularly haggard in the mirror. Meanwhile, Carla's looking very glam and swish, and she's got her hair rollers in, and she's making herself look gorgeous in the cafe.
Can I just say? I just want to say, I don't like small weddings. I think are great and fine if that's what you want. I'm just saying that in the context of the story that we are. Sense. I don't want anyone to come away and think I'm slagging off little weddings, because I know lots of people who've had small, very, very intimate weddings, and it is romantic and sweet. But in this context, and I also think that, like I said, when you try to exclude people from your wedding, it really just feels like it makes more long-term problems than you realise it does, because people get right
knocked off.
Yeah.
I don't know why Carla's doing her hair in the cafe and not, Roy's flat or anything, but never mind.
She wants to infuse it with the smell of bacon grease.
Nina's making the dress. Carla just sort of declares that she wants this time her marriage to Peter to be forever.
I love this. She said
she
said to Roy, "This time when I say the vows, I want to mean them." It's like, you bitch. This is the 5th wedding that Carla's had.
Is it?
And this is the second time that she has married Peter. So, I mean, I guess from that perspective, me sitting here going, oh, they're being very irresponsible and not allowing their family to attend. I can't believe the cheek of them. But really, if it's the 5th time, I don't know if I'd come.
They probably...
I'd be like, gee, I'm not getting you a present.
I don't know whether they'd be able to afford to have a big wedding either, to be honest.
Michael, I think you'll find that Ray's establishments are quite pricey, even at the lower end.
We need to stop calling it Ray's Hotel. It's actually Debbie's Hotel now.
Oh, okay.
Where's Debbie been recently?
Debbie's counting their cash in the back room.
We've not seen Debbie for weeks, have we? I'm missing her. She's great. Yeah. She should have been there. Anyway,
I know that would have been really cool if she'd come out and started going, "Oh, how you doing? Do you want some more napkins?"
Yeah, I'd have loved to have seen Debbie
fussing over it. That would have been quite funny.
Yeah. Anyway, Daniel is being a bit of a killjoy. Telling Peter, look, if you're feeling rough, if you look like you're going to drop dead any minute now, maybe we should save the wedding until later on.
But you see, he doesn't realise Peter's already a pro at getting married when he's very sick. So he's like, no, Daniel, it can get worse than this. Last time I was on a drip. I feel great compared to that.
Peter's first wedding, deathbed wedding at the tram crash, was one of those rare I'm on the edge of my seats and I am like,
I remember watching this.
I remember
watching that with you going, is that guy going to die? Is Peter going to die?
Yeah.
And you were like, I don't know.
I really did not know, especially as they were teasing the deaths in the tram crash.
Yeah,
that was some brilliant scenes. And I honestly thought that maybe that could be the last we've seen of Peter. Maybe this is the last we've seen of Peter, because he's not doing so well at the end of the episode. Let's get there. Daniel...
Somebody in the wedding party, or somebody who is appeared in this episode, is going to end up giving him a liver. That's my prediction.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Daniel urges Peter to put this wedding off, and then he has a bit of a reminisce about Sinead
really
and his little
order.
6-week marriage.
He's like,
Makes
Peter,
it all about himself.
don't... No, it wasn't that. It was like, Peter, don't have the wedding. Don't have the wedding if you think you're ill. This reminds me of when I got married to Sinead. We got married twice too. Second time, I guess, was the legal one. Then she died 6 weeks later. And then he kind of looks at Peter like... You might not even make it that long. Like, thanks, Peter, Daniel. Thanks for that cheerful
reminding
story.
me that I'm on borrowed time at the moment.
He doesn't take offence as I would, but, I guess when you're ill.
I actually did think that was a really nice scene it turned into in the end. Peter he was going to tell Daniel that he loved him, and Daniel's like, don't be so soppy about it, and then Peter says, you're adequate. I thought that was a really nicely done scene between those two actors. Peter goes and sneaks off to the Carla in the cafe, to tell her that he wants Daniel to be his best man.
Well, he's like, I want him to come.
Yeah, but I want to expand the wedding party, because they were planning to just pinch some randos off the street, weren't they?
Do you think you'd like to be a random witness at a wedding?
Oh, that might be quite nice.
Yeah.
It's a bit of story to
If anyone
tell.
needs a witness for a wedding, we're available.
Yeah. Daniel is on the phone to Ken later. He says that Peter is getting worse, and they're both kind of agreeing together that this wedding maybe isn't the best course of action. And then he asks Ken how Southampton is, but before Ken gets a chance to answer, Peter comes home.
It's beautiful.
So if anyone's wondering at the moment, it's fine.
It's lovely.
Really, really nice day
They call
today,
it
thank
sunny
you.
Southampton for a reason.
Yeah, fantastic. Peter comes back, asks him to be his best man, so he kind of has to go along with it. Carla,
He
meanwhile...
says, "What, you're adequate, man?" I thought
Oh,
that was
yeah, that was
crazy.
funny. Carla... She's dropping the hint to Roy that she wants him to come along to the wedding as well. And as we know, Roy's not the best at picking up subtle inferences. So then she just says, "Look, I want you to give me away, and this time I promise I won't bounce back." So that was nice.
Where are they going to live? And he done that.
Who bloody knows?
Hospital.
Number one still. Carla, Leanne's flat has been recently freed.
Vacated, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, and Carla found out about it, didn't she? Maybe they're going to move into there. It's a set. Daniel and Peter head off to the wedding. Daniel's still saying we should think about postponing this. Roy and Carla, meanwhile, are turning up at Debbie's hotel. Tracy's there as well.
And they put in
brought a
some
load
digs
of flowers
about the decor.
Yeah,
It is starting to look a bit ropey.
shabby.
Yeah,
it is. That's a well-used set. And this is where Tracy is back to being nice again, isn't she? She says, "Oh, Carla, you always look nice, you cow."
Very funny.
But yeah, and I'm not staying. Daniel and Peter show up at last to the wedding. There's a few scenes of them, people wondering where they are, and Mary having to tell that ridiculous story to try and...
You told me today, you're like, you know what, I'm starting to think that Mary's a pathological liar.
Yeah, Jude was a pathological liar. We know, that was quite a funny story. Well, we enjoyed it anyway. I think some people thought it was ridiculous. I think that he inherited it from Mary. I don't really believe her stories now. And whenever she starts to go off on one, I'm thinking, Mary, that didn't happen to you. You weren't sitting there in a stupid hat. This isn't true at all. This can't have happened. I think we were always
supposed to have thought that she was making a lot of this up.
I just switch off whenever Mary starts. It's such a shame because I used to really like her, and I do like her for lots of reasons, but her stories just leave me cold now, unfortunately. I just don't listen.
Can I just say about the wedding dress quickly? So Carla made the dress that Nina...
No, Nina made the dress.
Carla wore the dress that Nina made, and it was like a V-neck. I didn't see how long it was. I think it was quite long. It had quite a high slit.
Nice, big fluffy sleeves.
It had big, voluminous sleeves and
plunging neckline.
It was kind of like a Morticia outfit, but it was made of a black fabric with a floral design, which was just the outline of flowers. So it was just like lines of flowers on it, which is, I thought this was kind of a perfect wedding dress for Carla, because it's like Connor black but with a hint of bridal white. Yeah.
I don't think she could, as her fifth wedding, I think turning up in complete white might have been a little bit
and also now she's going to have to hang up the Connor black and start wearing the Barlow black.
The Barlow brown, yeah, maybe. She's back to being Carla Barlow again, isn't she?
Carla Barlow.
The vow time. I mean, she does
You've written your own vows.
Yeah,
how nice.
So she does her little bit of soapy ad-libbing and kind of finds it a bit of a struggle.
She
but
says,
she
what she
manages
say?
to get the
Marry
right
me,
things
you
out.
stupid idiot, or something.
Yeah, that's how it ended, basically.
I mean, fine.
Daniel can see that Peter's, on death's door at this point and says, "Hurry up." And so Peter is, or let's not do it. No, he says, "Let's get a doctor." And Peter's like, "No, I'm going to do it."
Literally, you were seconds away. Just shut up, Daniel. You're making this last longer than it needs to.
Peter starts to say his bit, but Carla's like, "Right, I'm just going to read my vows out, get them on my card, blah, 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 blah." Deal with the official bits of it. Peter says his things. Param, they are married. Hooray. And then the wedding party returned to the street. And what do you know? Peter face palms flat onto the cobbles in a shower of biodegradable confetti. Cliffhanger!
He laughed so much. I know he shouldn't have done, but he literally face planted.
I know.
He just went like a tree, face down on the cobbles. If that was real life, he would forget your liver.
That's what I was thinking.
Your head's been caved in.
Yeah, especially on that cobbled surface.
And also, everyone was like, "I'm sorry, but if I've just been married, I'm going to be next." I know it's COVID and they're actors, but I kind of sort of stood closer to you when after the wedding, you know, next to you perhaps, if I saw you starting to fall forward to crack your head open on the pavement, I think I would have caught you.
She was around the other side of the car, wasn't she? That's the problem.
Oh, whatever.
I thought that they did a much better job at the wedding of hiding the social distancing than they did at Gary's and Maria's, where it seemed painfully obvious. And I did wonder, actually, whether they do a bit of, you know, splicey, stick them all together in one scene, cutty, greeny, screeniness that they've been trying recently. And they didn't appear to. They were just spaced out nicely enough so that they could get them all in one shot.
I'm surprised they didn't draft in Tyrone and Alina to kiss each other.
Yeah, we didn't need to see a kiss. They're
like, fifth time, don't kiss, don't bother.
What did you think about the whole wedding? And even the fact that it was a secret wedding? I suppose we talked about
really made no impression on me.
Of it.
And to be honest, this was mentioned on our Facebook group by, I can't remember who posted, I'm sorry. But they said, it's very interesting to me that nobody's talking about Carla and Peter.
Yeah.
I think this was supposed to be a bigger deal. And can I tell you, I was actually surprised that you put this as the main story of the week, because I don't think it was. Well, to me, I was far more interested in what Tyrone was up to, so I could be mad about it. But, you know, I think it's a shame that two massive characters get married and one of them's nearly dead and literally collapses. And I'm like, oh dear. You know what I mean? Like, I'm done with caring about them.
I kind of like the idea that it came out of nowhere and we didn't have weeks of build up to the wedding and stuff, which can be a bit boring.
I don't understand though, because it's the only an easy way of creating anticipation.
Yeah, but I don't know.
No, do you know what I mean? And I know that there are big Carla and Peter fans out there, and I know that they were really excited and happy, so I'm glad that they got to see the wedding, and I'm sure they're really excited to know what's going to happen next. I'm sure Peter will roll over and end up in hospital, and they'll be like, we must give you a liver now, and then he'll say, oh, who shall I get one from? And then Carla will say, you can have mine, and then they'll be like, ew, girl liver, and then she'll go, but, and then Daniel will go, have my liver, Bertie doesn't need a father, and everyone will also, like, clap, and then...
Am I right in thinking that Daniel did offer to give a bit of liver a few months ago?
Yeah, what they do is they just
take a bit
pull
of
out
it,
your belly button and trim the lobe off.
Is that right, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's not unlikely to happen. I mean, will Peter be okay? Yes. Is he going to be dead? No. The one thing that's kept me going throughout this story is just in the back of my head thinking, could they kill him off? And I think Corrie are really riding on that, the fact that we don't know for absolute sure that Chris Gascoigne is staying with the programme, but even though we're probably thinking he very, very likely is.
I'm thinking like 90% he's going to be okay, but can I just say, if he does die, I quit, because I can't cope with seeing Carla again crying, because Carla's only just been through her very traumatic experience and hallucinating and having a breakdown.
Oh, God, yeah,
I don't think I could cope with widow Carla. I mean, she doesn't need to change her wardrobe. That's on the plus side. But other than that, I genuinely can't see myself enjoying watching months of her crying.
I'd like to see...
And saying he was her true love.
I'd like to see this story take an upturn now. I like Carla and Peter. I think they're a good match together. I think the actors work really, really well together. What I don't like is when they have their inevitable deja vu-ish breakups and affairs.
And it's worrying, you know, that Lucas is around.
Exactly.
Again. What the hell is he doing?
Just having him lingering, I don't like it. I mean, is he going to show up and see Peter at the hospital? I don't know. I want Carla and Peter to just stay together. I want every couple that I like to
drama,
just stay together.
Everyone stay together.
Stop splitting up couples. This is why I was happy when Nick and Leanne got together.
The viewers don't know
this
what
week.
They want.
It's sweet. I think I see those as a couple that should stay together. I just can't be asked. I fear investing in the characters, because I think there's 5 minutes they're going to be split up again. And if I truly believed that when they were saying those vows together today, this was it, this is for keeps, I'd probably think, brilliant.
I know, that's the thing, because of how easily they
Carla was
split
saying,
people up.
we've been through so much to get to this point, but you know what, if we hadn't been through all of those trials and tribulations, maybe we wouldn't be here today. And if I was certain, as she appears to be, that it's going to be forever, it'd be like, yeah, they have had a rough journey, but...
Yeah, the Coronation Street's kind of undermined its own... the confidence of the viewers in any kind of wedding now, honestly.
they have. They really, really have.
But that's not something they can really do much about, because, again, and one of these other things... This is what happened with Rana and Kate, where the fans were going, no, I don't want them to be sad. I just want happiness for them forever. And it's like, if you were in charge of writing Coronation Street, you'd write the most boring show anyone's ever watched. Of like Rana and Kate having pillow fights and eating ice cream, watching Bridget Jones' Diary.
I would not complain about that.
Don't be a pervert out of nowhere.
What else was there? I thought that Daniel was being a bit of a Debbie Downer.
I know.
I could kind of...
Peter, you're going to die. Yeah, we know.
I'm telling him to put the wedding off and everything.
He seemed really invested in stopping them from getting married for no real reason other than the drama, because you know how difficult this is for him, and you know he's really sick. So what do you think the chances are of him rallying later and doing this again? He's already nearly done. Just let him finish.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
But to be honest, Roy was a bit of a mystery guts as well. And I know that Roy doesn't smile very much, but...
On the day of the wedding, he
could
might
have
have
cracked a smile. Sometimes Roy does smile, doesn't he? And it's lovely when Roy smiles. You don't see it, but I thought that tonight might have been, because he is a bit of a semi-father figure to Carla in her life.
Well, the real one's banged up.
He just felt like, I'm losing trade at the cafe while I'm here.
Tell you what, Jenny's going to be furious when she finds out that she's missed her stepdaughter's wedding.
Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true, actually.
Daisy's going to be there going, you think she would have invited you, wouldn't you? You look lovely in that dress that we bought in town the other day.
I think that's kind of it for the Carla and Peter stuff. Anything else with the
Jane
Nick and
Danson is putting her feet in a big bowl of warm, soapy water right now.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, I hope she's got a little cucumber face pack on.
I mean, I don't know how long she's going to be away for the show for. I mean, so a lot of people on the internet were going, are they gone? Is this
like,
it?
Is she left?
And again, I had no fears whatsoever about that. They're not going to... Of course they're not gone forever. But... Anyway, they do deserve a break, and we put out that tweet that that got over 800 likes in the end. That one, didn't it? Where we were saying well done to Jane Danson, but she so deserves a break. She has been working a little. I mean, so's Ben Price, to be fair, but
pelt for months,
almost a year full on, and I'm not really sick of her, which must show that she's doing a good job. And I know some people are, but
right. Next story,
let's move on.
Now.
Troll Hill story, Gemma.
Right.
I pass it on to you.
Well, this is such a silly, problematic story, but
this story, and this is how I described it to you this week, as feeling like a sea story that somehow found its way into top billing.
Yeah, when you say sea story, you're not talking about pirates and stuff, so that would be quite cool. Like C grade.
Yeah, it's like this is the sort of thing that is your plays second, third, fourth fiddle to the main stories, and maybe gets a couple of scenes an episode, and after about a week or so it's over, and we've all learned a lesson that it's bad to troll people on the internet. But they're setting aside so much of the show for it.
Right,
and it doesn't feel go on.
It feels disproportionate, doesn't it? I mean, the whole thing is blown out of proportion. Like the story title tells you. She literally said, "Where's all the money going?" And we've seen Tracy buying lots of things, and it was kind of interesting to me today that she brought in all those flowers.
Well, she just said that they were.
She said that, didn't she? She said that.
I don't think that she would use her money to buy Carla flowers.
No, but I don't know.
Yeah, there was a scene...
Tracy definitely feels to me like the sort of person who'd say, Well, what? So what, Steve? You've done all this work. People gave you the money. Oliver's dead one way or the other. We're not going to bring him back. They're not going to cure it. Why can't I have a nice top?
There was a scene it was a Tuesday's episode, I think, wasn't there, where Tracy had her credit card out and Daniel comes in and is like, what are you doing? She says, I'm just buying a top before the meeting. And it was supposed to kind of show that she's not, too fussed about this meeting happening, but it could have been a little clue that they were putting in there that she is raiding little Ollie's piggy bank.
Can I just say, I don't think that she is, but that would be such a great twist and such an evil Tracy thing to do. I would kind of admire it.
Again, I think
stealing money from a dead child's charity.
I think that it's not in her character at the moment, just like what she was acting like at the mediation
Well, the fact
meeting,
that she was acting like that tells you that
meeting.
maybe it is in her character.
Well, it just felt that like maybe that particular writer on that day had it in for her or
Tracy.
something. I don't think that she would do that.
No, I know.
Anymore.
Well, let me tell you about the making.
Go on then.
I like the fact that it says you've got Troll Hill and it's Melanie Hill is the actress' name who plays Cathy. So on Monday,
making a mountain out of a male hill.
Right. So if you haven't watched Corrie for a long time, you might not know Cathy has a long lost sister called Nessa, who's a trollop who
troll or a trollop
who seduced Ken, wore his kimono.
Ate his turkey on Christmas Day when she was pretending to be a vegetarian. I quite like. I think we both like Nessa. Nobody else liked Nessa.
She's great. And she has a son called Alex who used to work in the cafe, and he recently was mentioned the other week. So that's who Alex's mum is. But Cathy kind of raised herself. I think raised him herself. Well, she's like a mother figure because Nessa was rubbish. Nessa's
basically,
flaky.
yeah.
So Alex has been involved himself in arguing with people on the internet.
Is Cathy's ex-husband Alan.
Yes.
Soaps. What I like.
So Alex been involved himself in defending Cathy online and also got a lot of trolling. And so he has gone to stay in Scotland because they can turn the internet off there at night. Nicola Sturgeon doesn't want people on the internet at night in Scotland drunk.
I think that Nessa lives on that little island. There was an island in the news the other day.
Letting everybody know how great life is in Scotland. You get free prescriptions. Everyone's going to be up there trying to get in, trying to get Scotland independent so you can join the EU.
There's a little island on the news the other day in between Scotland and the Shetland Islands. It's got like 45 people living on it, and they've all had their second COVID jab there, so they're completely safe there. And maybe that's where Alex says that he's hiding away from the internet trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scotland is a much nicer place.
Yeah.
Than
Haven.
England. Amy is there to overhear the drama. She tells Steve what she heard about Alex. She's like, well, I'm not surprised. After what he's been sent, people are sick, what they're saying to Alex. And there's the insinuation there that they've been making fun of him or being cruel to him because he has Down syndrome. If you haven't watched, if you've only just started watching Corrie, you won't have seen Alex. He hasn't been in it for a long time. But the actor has Down syndrome and the character also, and so that you can assume that they have been bullying him for that, which is disgusting. But I thought that was something that it was good not to shy away from. Because sometimes I think people are scared of saying something offensive. Even
they didn't say what they had been saying.
No, you don't need to, but you don't need to. But even the thought of somebody saying that to him, I find offensive.
Yeah.
So I think it was good. It was good to put that in to remind everybody that of what kind of stuff actually gets said on the internet about people. Yeah,
but I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't decided for myself whether they should have, gone a bit further into saying the sort of thing, because like when you had the Hayley being revealed as a transsexual, and then you had Les calling her all names under the sun, maybe that hit harder because we actually heard the insults that were being said. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I thought I didn't need to hear it to imagine. Steve asks Dev to stop sending the papers and the greeting cards that he's been stocking, and he hates the nastiness. And Dev's like, well, most people are not going to be this quick to forgive Cathy, especially Tracy, when she finds out what's going on.
Yeah, Steve's building bridges, isn't he?
Well, he's kind of sick of it now.
You know what happens when you build bridges? Trolls move in.
Yeah. Get that. Keep the goats off of it. Gemma finds out from Cathy about Alex going to Scotland, and she's gutted, and she goes and finds Cathy and apologises to her because this Monday's episode was Friday's last week, so the day before then, which was Wednesday, she rejected a chippy tea.
We couldn't remember on the podcast. I was fairly certain on last week's podcast that it was Gemma who turned down Cathy's fish and chips, and I was proven right on Monday.
So Cathy's chuffed that she's been forgiven. Steve goes and tells Cathy that Dev is going to stop selling papers. She gets quite happy. She thinks everything's on the up, and she's like, oh, I'm going to delete all my social media off my phone. And then she's like, oh, I've got all these messages from
we had a couple of scenes this week of Cathy saying, I'm just going to look at my phone to do X, Y, and Z. What?
No!
Oh, no.
Oh, man, this is horrible. I'm so scared of this happening to me. I'm horrible. Anything I say on here I could be
You're
trolled
going to be
for.
deep faked onto a porn video.
Yes, it's a deep fake. On Tuesday, it's Cathy's 60th birthday. Brian gets her some nice earrings. I have to say they were very nice, but she's so upset she can't admire the lovely little diamonds or whatever they are. Tracy bumps into Cathy and she's very horrible. She says, I don't even care. You think you're sorry now, you'll be even sorry by the time this is over.
Tracy overreacting this week, being unnecessarily nasty just for drama's sake. She just didn't sit right with me this week.
Felt
That's
a bit
not
forced.
the Tracy.
Yeah.
And the thing, often with Tracy, when there's a nasty character, sometimes as a viewer, you're like going, yeah, go on, you tell him.
Yeah.
You know, like Todd, where we've kind of enjoyed Todd being a bit of a villain and a wind, and you know, he gets a funny antagonist, and you like to cheer on the villains sometimes because you think, I'd like to be in their shoes. I'd like to say the sort of things that they say. But everything that Tracy did this week that was nasty, I was just like,
oh, shut up,
horrible.
Tracy.
So it just didn't sit right.
Carla's like, calm down, Tracy. And she's like, no. Brian tells Bernie about how upset Cathy is, and she says, let's organise a get-together with all of their mates. Cathy gets a phone call from Dev, and apparently one of the people that's working in the shops had a load of abuse from somebody who think that she is Cathy, and he says, maybe you shouldn't come into work anymore.
Well, just at the kebab shop, yeah.
Then she's like, oh, there's a box on the floor with my name on it. I wondered if it was going to be the old prop heart in a bag that they thought Gina delivered to Sally.
Yeah, it was actually Lauren. Is it Lauren?
But it's not. It's a funeral wreath.
That did remind me of the heart in a box.
I was like, oh, they could use that again. Cathy thinks it's Tracy. I think Bernie helps her to come to this conclusion because obviously Tracy's a florist.
Yes.
She goes around and accuses her. Tracy's like, no, I'm glad you got it, but I didn't send it. Steve tries to get her to pack it in, but she won't. Cathy goes back to the cabin. She can't deal with this. She goes and has a nap. She can't, so she comes back. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm snapping. I'm just going to turn my phone on again.
Just going to turn my phone on again.
Buzz. And these people, not only do they know where she lives, where she works, but they have her personal phone number, which is utterly terrifying.
I don't get how this has all happened.
Threats.
Is it?
People can be
I think Amy kind of instigated it a bit.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Would Amy know?
This is like the the internet equivalent of I don't know. I'm trying to think of it. A French person going to the Isle of Wight on holiday and us nuking France because they invaded a part of our country. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, what are you doing? So it wasn't even that aggressive. It was like, where's the money going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's the money going? And then it's like, oh, wow, here's a head in a bag.
Mm.
On Wednesday, Brian is at the cafe with Bernie and he doesn't know what to do. And she says, these internet idiots have no right to make Cathy feel this way. And he's got a brainwave, picks up the phone, and he has called Officer Craig. And he's like, oh, we can't do anything unless they've threatened to kill her.
And that's how you get a promotion in Weatherfield.
Yeah.
I say, can't do anything, really.
What's her name? PC, DC, Jess behind him, taking notes, going, promising, yeah. Wasting time, saying you can't do anything, refusing to help people that need you. Yeah, brilliant. You got 3 ticks. Promotion.
I just can't. I know we're not on that story yet, but I cannot see Craig as a detective at all. We've seen a load of detectives on this show. You know, we've got the greats. We've got McKinnon. We've got Abney. We've got...
love them.
You know, they've all got a certain gravitas to them, haven't they? Mostly.
What is he joining?
The CID.
CID.
Coppers in disguise.
Yeah, I said to you, what is it?
Or whatever it actually stands for.
Coppers in disguise.
It's the detectives. He doesn't, I mean, he's not the brightest light bulb, is he? You don't trust him to solve your crime.
You're right, it
He's
was
also
the criminal investigation department.
That's what I said as a second guess. It
Why are you being so
boggles
mean?
my mind. Are they that desperate in Coronation Street that they ask Officer Craigie?
He's
and I know he's not proper.
Stupid.
And also, he can't keep his bloody lip shut, can he? Think about all the secrets he's been giving
honest,
away.
here's another thing.
The CID, they go undercover.
Yeah. The thing is,
everybody, it's me,
like,
Craig.
Shh. I know that you're selling drugs.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Come here.
Utterly ridiculous.
Listen, you're in so much trouble.
I'm just being nice because I'm a nice guy. You want to run away now?
But even today he was like, Kirk, I'm going to be in CID. Don't tell anyone. I'm not supposed to say anything yet.
Ridiculous.
I love it.
Utterly
I
ridiculous.
don't care. I think it's great. I think that the calibre of Weatherfield police officers, I'm surprised he's not just been fast-tracked to the top. To be honest.
Chief
the only
Superintendent Tinker.
I can tell you one thing. There is one competent officer that works in that force, and it's the guy that stands behind the counter.
Desk
he's
sergeant.
Always the same
He's
guy.
always, he is.
And he knows exactly what to do. He says, take a seat. Every time. Okay, take a seat.
that actor, he's got a job for life.
He knows what
there.
he's doing.
Yeah.
It could be a real policeman. It could be a real policeman who's just wandered in and he doesn't know that it's a set.
Yeah. Take a seat down there. What's that? You come for the hotel just up the stairs?
Don't tell him he's here. And then Craig goes, hey, come here. This isn't real. Don't know who's paying you, but it ain't the police. Right, anyway.
Sorry,
Craig,
we love you, really. Coulson Smith is fantastic. But I can't see Craig as a DC. DC.
I don't understand any. I don't understand any of these. They're all made up.
The bill is coming back, everybody. I
Do you think they'll keep the same theme tune?
Of course, they're not going to change. They'll probably jazz it up and make it modern. But yeah, this is breaking news at 8:00 tonight. If Andy Halls is to be believed on Twitter, the bill is coming back, and it was literally. When I was talking to Melanie Hill about this the other week on the podcast, and we said, "Bring back the bill." So, if you would like to send your thanks, any fellow Bill fans, me and Melanie Hill made this happen. We put it out there into the universe, into the ether. They're going to have, apparently, this is all reportedly, bringing back Tony Stamp, Jim Carver, what's her face? June Ackland. What a dream team. I'm so excited.
If you would like us to start a Bill podcast, please email us to let us know so we can work out.
I'm not going to be able to do
Michael
a Bill
doesn't
podcast.
Understand
I wouldn't
Bill.
follow it. I've got no idea what's going on in Line of Duty at the moment.
For all that Michael talks about how much he loves the Bill, you didn't understand any of it.
What was going on.
Ever.
I just liked
some
of the characters.
Oh, look at
I like the Bill when
Tony Stamp.
When the Bill went through a soapy phase, which all the Bill fans despised, I was I'm loving this. It's like the Officers' love lives.
You're like, I get it. He's shagging her.
Yeah.
I get it.
It was. I'm so excited. I hope it's true.
Right.
Sorry, we're really sidetracked. That's of interested in this trolling story we are.
So he's like, sorry, can't do anything. Then Gemma's on her laptop. She's getting ready to do a video, she tells Bernie.
Remember, Gemma's got a vlog.
At one point, she's like, this is bad for my reputation. Like,
my brand. Think about my brand.
I'll think about my brand. She discovered, what has she been Googling to find this? Cathy has been deep faked onto a porn video. And they're both very enthralled by this. Craig comes looking for Gemma. It turns out Bernie used her social media account to make death threats against the person who's made the video. And then this person's turned around and reported them to the police. Because according to Craig, unless you make a death threat, it's not illegal. And as soon as you do, any crimes you've committed before then don't count.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. Everything else fine. Make a death threat, bad. And also, I want to know as well, can you imagine if you were like following all your favourite social media accounts, like the one that takes a photo of a salad and the one that does a thingy of a baby and the one that's like talking about how much she likes bleach in her toilet, and then you got... I
thought you were going to say something else.
I thought you might. And then you've got like, the one that's got 4 babies, and then suddenly she's like atting somebody going, screw you, die in hell, how excited would you be? Like, oh, she's been hacked. And then she has to come on and be like, sorry, it was me, ma'am, who's also in the videos.
Yeah.
What kind of wholesome fake facade of... Like, you remember how much Gemma was talking about authenticity? There's anything authentic that's ever been posted on Gemma's account, it's Bernie sending somebody a death threat. That's the most Winter Family thing I can imagine.
I agree. Oh, what I didn't get was this deep faker just like say, hello, yeah, I'm just a honest, hard-working person who photoshops people's heads onto these porn stars and uses it to...
It's just a hobby.
Yeah.
I've got an Etsy shop if you want to buy...
Would somebody who did that really just go to the police and say, I've had a death threat?
Can I just say...
Wouldn't they get in trouble for that at all?
Can I just say, just in general interactions with people on social media, if you disagree with somebody about a topic that they feel passionately about, it was only a matter of time before you get called a Nazi, a racist, and you get told to go and die or kill yourself. I'm surprised it took this long to get to this stage. Does anybody take it seriously on social media when somebody says, I hope you die? Because that's how people talk to each other.
You Gemma, you do quite like reporting Twitter accounts every now and then,
I
don't
do
you?
it quite a lot.
Sometimes I look on my Twitter and it's like, the account that you have reported has been blocked. Or like, what's Gemma been doing now?
Like, what did
3 o'clock in the morning.
Who? What did they say? I'm like, I literally cannot remember what it was. So anyway, so Gemma's
Back
been
on
dragged.
track.
Gemma's been dragged through the mud. She's been called Slummy Mummy, which I think is brilliant. Her brand's finished. Can I just say, own it, Gemma. Start your account, call it Slummy Mummy, and you will make a fortune.
Yeah.
Authenticity is key. Well, I don't pretend to know anyone's name on this show. I've been doing it for 8 years now, so it seems to be working for me. Craig recommends turning their phones off. I love this. The police, the official police line is like, have you tried not listening when people say they want to kill you?
Try turning it off and on again in 2 days. Yeah. I'm sure when you turn your phone back on again in 2 days, you won't be hit with a barrage of messages again. Pretty useless, Craig, honestly.
Yasmin sees Cathy in the street and she says, oh, I'm sorry I didn't come over for your birthday. Cathy says, no, leave me alone. Don't come near me, otherwise you'll be a target for abuse like everyone else. And she's running around. I love how well Melanie Hill does this kind of like haunted by invisible ghosts kind of like running through the streets, like waving her arms about and kind of looking anxious, like she's being followed by a horde of literal trolls.
Yeah.
So Brian comes back from the wholesalers to find Cathy's not even in the shop, I don't think.
No, she's there. She's packed. She's got her luggage. She's got a hat on, and she's making her secret covert disappearing act.
This is
from
another
the street
thing
to next door.
where any kind of drama or interest is sucked out of this because of how silly and over dramatic it is. Like, we should be going, oh no, Cathy's so sad that she's left Brian, but we're going, what's she going down the road for? Like, literally, and he's so dumb, he's like, where's my girlfriend gone? And she's like, there. And
I want to know how far he followed her down the road.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's gone.
For me. I'm going to go to Des and get
I'm out of breath.
What's the purpose of her abandoning him? Is he actually she suspect him of being trolled? No. Is he like downloaded the porn onto his phone and won't stop watching it?
Well, it's just like with Leanne not wanting Nick to get caught up in it all, and she doesn't want
like,
Brian, and
I don't want you to be involved in this, but you know what? I'm going to go make Yasmin.
I'm going to jump on her for a little bit. She's not Yasmin's her drama. She hasn't had any drama for the last 3 months. She's fine.
Exactly.
There.
So she dramatically leaves. He goes to speed dial, tells Yasmin, oh, I love her. Yasmin goes back home, and Cathy secretly moved in there with her and Elaine. And she's hiding out there because somehow the trolls won't be able to get her phone if it's in Yasmin's house. What, has she covered it in tinfoil or something? like in Better Call Saul?
Yeah.
Elaine's not happy about this. She thinks it's put them in danger. I think I would be unhappy about it because it doesn't make any sense.
Steph probably cut off the internet and Yasmin hasn't worked out how to reconnect it yet.
On Friday, Roy reassures Brian he's worried about where Cathy is. She's just being a pain in the bum, is Cathy. at the house, and Elaine wants to get rid of her, but Yasmin says they need to respect her wishes. And I think obviously Yasmin feels like a bit of a protective mother hen here, because she knows what it was like to be abused, and really that's what Cathy's going through at the moment. Brian hears that Cathy is not with Nessa as he originally thought in Scotland. And Elaine's like, oh no, she's with us.
Elaine very handily happens to be in the cabin when Brian receives this news that she's not gone north of the border.
Brian then goes to Yasmin's, and Cathy's like, I don't want saving, go home. What?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this
This
story.
was like, it was written like Mad Libs, this story, because the sequence of events doesn't feel like it's following on from each other. I mean, at this point now, it's obvious that Cathy's not the troll of the story, it's somebody else. Is it going to turn out to be somebody that we know?
I don't know. See, we were talking earlier about is Tracy really taking the money from Ollie's account? I don't know. Is she doing some trolling? I don't know. Some people. There was a theory online earlier this week that Bernie was doing all the trolling, and like because Bernie had said, "Oh, those must be expensive, those wreaths," and she didn't seem super surprised that the wreath was there.
Well, she was just loving the drama, which is what I would have been like.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that anybody that we know is behind it. I don't think it's supposed to be. And I know in these sorts of stories where there's some kind of mystery assailant, it usually turns out to be one of the neighbours.
That's because it's a narratively satisfying end to sort of reveal, like Scooby-Doo, like who the real troll is. Take the mask off. Oh, it's Brian all along.
Yeah.
But in this story, this trolling story, it's I feel it's like such a missed opportunity, because this is such an important thing to tackle. I was so pleased when I heard Corrie was going to do it, but it just feels to me like they don't know what trolling is, and I can't believe that for a minute, because I think anyone who's got a social media account knows what trolling is, and most of these people surely do.
I don't know.
This is not how people get trolled.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
I know, we're going to go round and round and talking about it.
We're worse than Carla and Peter, aren't they? I don't know.
I wanted this to tackle so many things, like it would have been better if Cathy had been a bit more aggressive, or a bit more said a few more things that made sense why somebody would attack her for this. I would like to know really what the police actually would say, and like I don't buy that the police would turn up and say, turn your phone off, we can't do anything about it. I think they would say something to you along the lines of because I've heard stories about people being hauled into police officers around the country by seemingly bored police forces for saying something that somebody didn't like. The hate speech legislation in this country is very, very, I think, vague and broad. Malicious intent, or if you cause harm or distress to somebody, you can get in trouble. And they call it a non-crime crime or something, a non-crime event. It's really weird. There's a lot of really, honestly, slightly sinister, in my opinion, and strange things going on about hate speech in this country, and what you're allowed to say and what you aren't allowed to say. I don't know. I just think this was a missed opportunity, because it comes down to a question of how far do you protect free speech? Because in this country, we're very protective over people being harmed by speech. And we would rather censor people from saying things than allow complete freedom, and then you're free to be offended or not. You know, like in America, you can say what you I think you can say what you like, as long as you're not saying something that's not true. But you can call people names, and you can say horrible slurs to people that in this country would have you arrested. There are certain words that you cannot say here. And I don't know whether I think that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know.
It kind of scares me that you can just say a word and be put in prison. Well, I don't know if I'm, I think I'm overblowing it a little bit, but there's certainly you can, the law is very different in this country. And I can't believe that the police wouldn't have a bit more to say about it, especially because Craig's young. Like, Craig knows what.
The fact that a troll knows literally where Cathy works, they've smashed the window, they've delivered this wreath, they know where she works, they know her personal phone number, they know her email address, they know everything about her. And I know I don't think it's supposed to be one person, I think it's supposed to be a lot of people. There's no wonder that she's feeling exactly. Surely in real life they'd have moved on to someone else by this point, but I don't know.
I know.
It's not a surprise that she is scared for her personal safety because...
Do you know, yeah, the police are like, well, when you die, can you tell us? Because then we'll investigate the murder.
Yeah.
But surely it's concerning, and they could stake something, you know, is Craig that busy? Craig also is one of these very eager beavers. I can imagine him going, oh, Cathy, because he was going around he was like searching Gary when he wasn't even in uniform, which they're allowed to do. Police officers are allowed to search you when they're not in uniform. We talked about that at the time. But he was going through Gary's stuff, wasn't he? So I can't imagine that he's so dismissive of her. If I was Craig is a caring guy and he really wants to make a good impression at work and he genuinely believes in what he's doing. Like, I know that there's a lot of stuff about police officers and talking about how they're, you know, what we think about policing and is it bad or good or whatever. Craig believes in the power and goodness of the police force to keep order and help good people and punish bad people. He would surely jump at the chance for poor Cathy, sweet Cathy, who made a mistake, who's being sent death threats. And he's just going to be like, oh yeah, turn your phone off. If I was Craig, I'd be so excited. I'd be like, I'm gonna sleep in devs overnight. I'm gonna observe to see who sends you things.
Well, you know, he's preparing for his DC exam, isn't he? To get onto his little what is it called? I can't remember. I've written it down later, but yeah, he's got too much else going on. Bless him. Also, and he's up there with Faye. Yeah. Upstairs.
Is deep faking porn not illegal?
Yeah, that's what I said. That
I know, but I'm saying.
I think probably.
If we're gonna not allowed to repeat ourselves in this podcast, it's going to be a lot shorter.
Anything else?
The Golden Girls of Weatherfield.
Oh yeah. I think that could have potential. I'm a bit disappointed that it's gone down the path of Elaine being put out by Cathy being there, because I think that they could have some fun together. I want to. Having the three of them together, it
felt a bit like
putting the world to rights.
It reminded me of how much fun we had with the Battersby sisters.
Yeah, with Eva, Toya, and Leanne in the pub.
They were really good fun, and I think we have the potential of that with these three because they're really good actresses as well. But it doesn't look like they wanted to go down that route.
No, it's a shame.
And also, can I just say, poor Brian, he was targeted originally. Everybody thought it was him. And so surely there are some people who still think it was him that did it, or at the very least are going to be saying the sort of nonsense that people say, like, he must have been in on it. Of course he knew what she was getting up to. He probably condones it. And she's left him there.
Running the cabin by himself.
Bricks coming through the window. Wreaths at the door.
Yeah. She thinks that she's escaping to, you know, get him
2 doors down
to protect him. That's the word.
Is.
But she's making things worse, and to have his offer of support thrown back in his face at
especially
the end
when he was like,
a bit harsh.
Oh, pretend it was me.
I know, he was lovely for her, but to her. Anyway, this story keeps trolling on, and I'm sure that next week it still won't be the end of it. I don't know what's going to be a satisfying ending. Literally, will they just stop, or will they just find another victim? I mean, if it is somebody that we know that's kind of being the ringleader, will everybody just start piling onto them, and we'll say, well, they deserve it, so now it's not a storyline anymore. They got what was coming to them.
This is the thing. It's like, how is this going to end?
Suck it up, Bernie.
Or is he going to track it down and it's going to turn out to be some little annoying 14-year-old girl who doesn't know that she's ruining...
Somebody learn a lesson, yeah.
Oh, do you know what I mean?
Will she actually turn her phone on in a couple of days and it will all be over and Craig was right all along?
And she'll be like, oh, look, there's a funny video of a kitten.
Yeah, I don't know. Right, rutting ties now. Oh, no, here's a storyline that got our heckles up this week. Tuesday, Tyrone is... I thought he's finally learning a lesson. We were talking last week about the fact that he really just needs to
leave Alina alone.
Oh, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Leave Alina alone when she's having problems, and he says to Abby maybe that she was struggling with some boxes earlier, and he didn't help her. Abby tells Kevin also that Tyrone needs to grow a pair and think of his family. Just forget about Alina. He's obsessed with her. You got Fizz and 2 girls waiting for you at home. Go back to them. But Tyrone says to Kevin, I can't stop thinking about Alina. What was he talking about? Her favourite colour and favourite crisps.
He was like
something.
He was being a bit Michelle-like. Oh, this was Alina's favourite kind of car. Alina loves pickled onion flavoured Monster Munch. And when she eats them, her breath smells like petals.
I mean, when you are newly in love or in lust or obsessed or whatever, then I think you do, don't you? But I don't know. Oh, gosh. A jug of flowers has just fallen off. Okay, everybody.
Don't worry, we're alive. So he's mooning over her.
He's mooning over, and Abby says, "Look, go and take him out for a drink at the Rovers, Kevin."
To Kevin, yeah.
So they meet up. They have a chat about football.
And Alina loves football.
Maria comes in and says, "I've just been to see Fizz. What the hell are you doing here, Tyrone? You should be back at home. She's drowning in housework. You're a disgrace." And Kevin's like, this. "Well, actually, Maria, your romantic history isn't exactly perfect either. Do you remember when you tempted Aidan away from Eva? Do you remember how you cheated on Tyrone yourself more than once? And
I couldn't believe she
Maria
stood
slinks
there.
Off suitably ashamed when she could have fired right back.
Oh, sorry. Whose son do you have living in your house again? Who's the mum of that kid?
Yeah, exactly.
She died. Can I just say, I wonder whether she would be alive now because Sally left her to die because of what you did.
You can't start slinging and reminding people of
you literally can't
skeletons in their closet because everybody...
You would never stop.
No. It's a terrace of glass houses, isn't it, basically?
Yeah.
But anyway, she slinks off after this, and then they go back to the garage, and he says that he's a disgrace as well.
Well, he's like, yeah, she's right. I am a disgrace, and I'm like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, but he makes himself feel all better on Wednesday.
Can I just say,
doesn't he?
Tyrone seems to be the sort of person who thinks
with his.
If I feel bad about this, that's enough for punishment, and I should be able to then move on and do what I want. Like, being sad about how much of an arsehole you are, to me, that doesn't absolve you of being an arsehole. The arsehole fairy doesn't come and go, well, in that case, as long as you know that you're an arsehole.
Does the arsehole fairy come out of the arsehole?
Don't be ridiculous, my gosh. She comes from the sky.
Is that her little den?
She rides down on a rainbow of various brown colours.
Anyway,
don't ask me what the wand's made of.
Abby on Wednesday is getting fed up with Tyrone's constant moping and declares the garage an Alina free zone.
I like the way that Abby and Kevin were so like, yeah, whatever, cool, yeah, Alina, fine, Fizz, fine, we don't judge, this is a judgment-free zone, love is love. And then, like, the next week they're like, can you shut up about Alina and her Monster Munch?
It's because he's living, he had been living with her as well, isn't it? So I think they were getting it with from him at home as well. But speaking of home,
he is
now living with Hope and Ruby and Fizz. We didn't get to see any Ruby this week.
He was living with...
He had been.
No, at this point... Tyrone is with
that's
Abby
true.
and Kevin.
I forgot. I got mixed up about when he moved out.
Totally sick of him. And honestly, they're probably like, Fizz is
Hope is having sad times back at home. We don't get to see Ruby, sadly. It was a bit of a Sam and Max. Sam and Max. Oh, that's a game. That's a LucasArts game. Sam and Max hit the road.
Write that down.
Oh, yeah. When Sam and Max get together and they have their road trip adventures, that's a storyline title. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, we had lots of Hope calling up the stairs to Ruby this week, didn't we? When she wasn't actually there. So she's Fizz is having to try and explain why Daddy's not there with them, and Hope has written this diary at school for her school Easter project, where she said that we went down to Seaside with Mummy and Daddy and Ruby, and we had a lovely time. Because she doesn't want to let on, I guess, to her school that she's having a rubbish time at home.
Well, she's kind of constructing a fantasy, isn't she?
Yeah, basically.
And Fizz tells Roy about this. Yeah. And she's like, I just don't want to give up. Because don't forget that he used to be her foster dad.
Yeah, that was lovely. That was a nice little scene. He gives her a nice little self-affirming pep talk. And Abby tells Kevin that he needs to persuade Tyrone to move out.
She's like, I'm sick of this guy.
So Tyrone... I say, when was it? Tuesday's episode, he'd done a good job of avoiding her, but by now, despite thinking he's a disgrace, just starts badgering her again.
Well, this is what I mean.
Have you got
he's
a chance,
like,
Alina? Come on, Alina.
I feel bad about what I've done, but now can I have my reward for being a good man for realising I'm awful?
Yeah, he doesn't listen to Maria and think, you're right, I need to make it up with Fizz. It's like, I'm doubling down on this Alina thing. Yeah. Who up until this point, she'd been, fair play to her, trying to say no, hadn't she?
I'm not keen on Alina anymore.
No, I'm definitely
She's got
not.
I don't know what her deal is at the moment. She's like, one minute she's like, no, we
Oh,
cannot.
you've got to think about your family.
And then she's like, oh, you're so good in bed.
I know. So yeah, she says, "Oh, come home to me later. We have a talk about it in inverted commas." He says, "I'm going to do everything I can to make things right for the girls." And number one on the top of my list is shagging you, Alina.
Yeah, they will love it.
Yeah,
That can go in the diary.
Oh no, this is what he says to Fizz, sorry, later, and Fizz is saying, look, we just need to show that we can be kind and respectful to each other in front of the girls, and he says, fine, I'm going to move back and sleep on the sofa. So it looks like maybe he has decided to stick with Fizz. Oh no, he's back to Alina later to have a good old whine and a whinge to her about what's happened. Oh, my life is so tragic at the moment. Oh, I feel so sad. Could you make me feel better, Alina?
He says, won't change what I feel about you. And she says,
go back to your little life.
Which I thought was really rude and rich as well, considering that one of the things that they have a conversation about this week was him saying to her, you like it because you like the fact I'm a good dad.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, this was one of the things that set me off so much, because if you think he's a good dad, why are you wrecking his family life by indulging him in this? Of what purpose is it? What is it about the fact that he's a good dad that you like? Because if you admire his parenting skills, what do you think of him now? He's abandoned his children.
Is she looking, thinking that she might pop out a few sprogs of her
own? Well, this is what I'm thinking. If you're eyeing him up for future fatherhood, he's already left one woman. He might leave you.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to share his fatherly duties with two families. And I know that lots of people do this, but I'm just saying, if one of the things that primarily attracts you to somebody is how good they are at being a parent and they already have a family, you need to back off and leave them alone, because all you're going to do is wreck everything about that thing that you like so much. Is she prepared to be a stepmother to Ruby and Hope? Is that what she's talking about? I don't think so. I don't think she's thought about any of this.
No.
And it winds me up. Because as far as pillow talk goes, or like complimenting somebody, I think that saying, oh, you're such a good dad, that's to me the most cringy, weird thing to attract a man by saying. Yeah, unless his wife is dead or she was some kind of psychopath. Like, maybe if Fizz had said this to him when Kirsty was abusing him, that would be acceptable. But the fact is that Fizz didn't really do anything wrong apart from she made Piccalilli sandwiches and told him to pick up his socks.
I know. Well, Tyrone says, look, I feel really guilty about this, that I've turned my kids' worlds upside down and everything, but you know what? I just can't stop thinking about you, Alina.
It's so lovely and great.
And she says, I don't want to be your dirty little secret. I'm going to show you exactly how I feel about you. And then the next thing we see, across the country. Well, I wonder. I mean, again, we're not all on the same side here, are we? We did another Twitter poll this week, and 68% of people are on Team Fizz at the moment, and the rest are on Team Tyrone. But that scene where she comes out of the bedroom and she's kind of doing up her blouse and giving a sexy look, and I'm like, no, they haven't, have they? And Tyrone there is just looking like he scored the winning goal at Wembley, doesn't he? It's like, way! I feel so better now. He's like, that's recharged the old batteries.
Oh, it's so sordid and horrible.
It really, really was. But yeah, there are probably some people watching this at home, and some of it maybe you, dear listeners, going, yeah, get in there, my son.
I find it offensive and misogynistic, the amount of people who are acting like, well, of course, Tyrone has got this chance. It's like, if you won the lottery, would you turn down the £1 million? No, you'd take it. Like everything Fizz has done and been to him is completely worthless because of how she looks compared to Alina. I just find it such an offence, and I know that some people are doing it on purpose. Some people are saying this just to wind people up, and I guess it's funny to be misogynistic. But I just wonder whether you would find it quite so funny if it was a different class of person that you were talking about. I just think misogyny is so invisible in society that people don't even really care or see it.
I think it's misogyny. I think that some people just have different different
really?
views of relationships and things, and I'm obviously on your side on this, and up until this point, I was still kind of willing to forgive Tyrone, and I was kind of
complete dismissal and devaluation of a woman who has given some of the prime years of her life raising children with Tyrone in that house together, and the complete devaluation of her role as a mother and a girlfriend provider for him, based purely on what, as far as I can see, looks.
And she's a bit naggy sometimes. But yeah, it made me sick. I thought that if he had turned back, if he'd have ended up on the sofa and then they'd have got back together and everything, I could see Fizz forgiving him, and then maybe I would now.
Fizz is going to forgive him.
I think she will at the end,
idiot.
or she's probably going to forgive him, and then she's going to walk in on Tyrone and Alina bouncing up and down on the sofa together. I don't know.
Can I just
but this for me, this is the no turning back moment for Tyrone, which is such a shame because there's a character that I really like, and it's yet another character assassination.
Can I just say, this reminds me of in Love Actually, when what's his face gave that girl the necklace.
When Alan Rickman.
And who was the lady?
Sexy boss lady.
No, she wasn't his boss.
Oh no, not boss. Well, yeah,
what's
worker.
the name of the actress
I don't remember.
who plays?
I don't know, but it wasn't Emma Thompson.
Yes, it was. I'm talking about Emma Thompson. When Emma Thompson, in that scene, she tells Alan Rickman and she says, "You've made my life small. You've made everything that I've worked for, and you've made it cheap and small." And she's crying because she thought that she was on an equal footing with him, and that he respected and loved her for what she provided and who she was to him, and the role that she has played, that society expects women to do, that we all get taught as girls. Be a mother, be a provider, be nice, be sweet, make the dinner, make the piccalilli sandwiches, bring him round to his place of work, pick up his socks. Don't mind when he walks around scratching his arse like he did today. Yeah. And then at the end of it, a sexy girl comes along, and the next thing you know, he's off down bloody Selfridges buying her a gold necklace and getting you blooming Joni Mitchell CD for Christmas.
Nice.
This is what I think. And Emma Thompson gave such a fantastic performance in that, of representing the woman in that situation, and that's how I view Fizz.
Yeah.
Betrayed after everything that she's done,
and I feel
that has been expected of her by society and Tyrone, who's done nothing but take her for granted all of these years, and turned around and said, I feel everything's stale, never said anything to her, never gave them a chance, never tried to rekindle the relationship or be romantic, and just went off with Alina because she's younger and she's prettier and she's skinnier. And I just find it the most offensive thing ever, and it is steeped in misogyny, and I don't care whether you understand that or not.
I felt bad for Fizz as well at the end of the episode, because Tyrone goes home and Hope's really excited that he's back, and Fizz, that just looking at her, she's kind of thinking, she's kind of given a look that she thinks it's going to be a bit more permanent, doesn't she? Like it's the first step to forgiveness.
Winning him back.
Yeah. And then he gets a text message from Alina saying today was, and then about 10 exclamation marks. So I mean,
what's that Romanian for?
Flipping it. And then,
I just also now hate the fact that he's lying and cheating on her.
I do as well. I really.
Because I'm not quite sure. I don't think that they formalised with each other, Tyrone and Fizz, what it is that they're actually doing here. I think Fizz is hoping that they're going to get back together.
He's staying for the girls' sake, and they're saying at some point we're going to say that Daddy's looking for a new place. But
right. I don't think that's. I think that's an awful idea. And I've said this before, and I hope that people remember that I said this. I understand that relationships end and that people fall out of love with one another, and it's a very sad thing. But staying together for the children is such a bad idea.
Well, they'd already told the children Daddy's moving out. And now, if Fizz isn't getting ideas that things are getting back to normal, well, Hope and Ruby certainly will, won't they? And when he does eventually move out, they're just going to have to suffer all over again.
I totally understand that sometimes people fall out of love and you fall to love with somebody else and you want to move on, and I certainly don't want to blame anybody for those feelings, but in this situation I can't see that this is based on anything to do with Alina's personality.
Well, she doesn't have one, does she?
I'm sorry, but she doesn't. And it's partially the fault of the show, I guess, because she just is very much a cipher and just a kind of just a sort of an empty space for a story to go.
Yeah, they've not made any attempts
and she was
to
very sweet.
Develop her. She was great to begin with. I really liked Alina.
And then when it was her, Seb and Emma in the love triangle, it kind of got a bit like, I don't know if I really care about this now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you can really get mileage out of a character who's just nice to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
But since that time, she's become a bit wiser. Blanker. Well, I just think she's very blank. If you said to me, like, say when Alina was enslaved and then she was freed, and I really liked her and enjoyed her. I thought she was very sweet and tragic and damaged and vulnerable. If Tyrone had fallen in love with her then, I might have felt differently about it because I liked Alina then and I thought she had more personality. But since then, it's kind of drained out of her.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I don't know whether people still like Alina based on that previous impression of her, and I certainly wouldn't blame them if they did, because there's no particular reason why now I've decided to go off her. It's just she's been in it for a long time since then, doing nothing.
Yeah. So Fizz and Tyrone, well, Fizz decides on the beginning of today's episode that they need to do something because he wakes up and she starts bickering with him, and I think she was being a bit harsh on him when he just woke up in the morning. I mean, he's done a lot to deserve it, of course, but they can't help but quarrel first thing in the morning. So she says, we need a solution to this. If only there was a trained counsellor somewhere nearby.
I just thought it was she's there, she's like upset. She's thinking about Alina and how she compares to Alina, and she's thinking about Tyrone and the life they built together and how much she thought she loved him and how great everything was going, she thought. And then she sees him on the sofa lying there like a slob having a stupid dream. What was he having a nightmare about?
Watership Down.
He was a villain in Watership Down, which, shoot the rabid rabbit or whatever. I don't even know what the villain is in Watership Down. I refuse to watch it. But whatever it is, must be some sort of animal. So just shoot it, put it out of his misery. Then he gets up and he sort of drags a duvet and scratches his bum. And she kind of looks at him. And I think this is the moment where she's like, am I that bothered about this then? Is he that much of a catch? Like, all this stuff about me versus Alina. What about Tyrone versus just being by myself and not having to worry about doing his washing up?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So she decides to go on and
I've
arrange...
said it before, the happiest demographic is single women.
She's arranged a counselling session with Toya, who's hasn't had a chance to do any of this for a few years. She's a therapist.
She's suddenly become a therapist, which I don't think is the same thing.
I don't know. Tyrone
I thought she was going to get out some aromatherapy oils.
Tyrone is not so sure about this, but Fizz says, well, it's not your decision, actually.
I'm
trying to save this relationship, so if I want to have a counselling session with Toya, then you can bloody well sit here and suck it in. Sadly for her, Bernie's there to throw a spanner in the works because she's tangentially related to Fizz via Chesney, via Gemma, and she just basically spends the time interrupting and criticising Tyrone for how he's you are
I'm the Bernie,
of the podcast. I'm trying to get through the story here, Gemma.
Sorry.
We've been doing Street Talk for nearly 2 hours at this point.
Sorry.
She says that Tyrone clearly is just in love with the novelty of having this exotic new companion.
I can't say that I disagree with her.
Toya is desperately trying to regain control, but failing miserably with it. So I didn't think the script here for Toya showed her in the best light. It was very much kind of the standard cliche lines of, he wants to speak his truth, and for somebody who is actually a friend to Fizz and Tyrone and has known them for over 20 years. On and off.
It didn't feel like it was personalised.
It wasn't. It felt like the kind of lines that you would trot out after just reading your first textbook on therapy, 101. So it was the disappointing miss, I think, because Fizz and Gemma, Toya especially, do go way back, but they don't ever have scenes anymore. I thought it could have had a much more personal touch. And
It's because I think Coronation Street is like, woo-woo, therapy. That's not real. I don't think they've got any respect for what a counsellor is. So I think that kind of comes through in the fact that they didn't bother to try to give her any lines that felt...
No, although what I did like her line, which was her excuse for having to leave the meeting at the end of it, because she gets a text message from somebody saying that there is a beaded thong delivery, 200 beaded thongs at the factory, and she needs to go and sort it out. Does this get us any closer to finding out what job Toyah does?
Is she quality control? Is she the Creed of
I think you're right.
Underworld?
I think you're right.
I think she is the Creed of Underworld, because Creed doesn't really know what he's doing there, does he?
No. You're right, yeah. So she has to go run back there to sort that hoo-ha out.
Hoo-ha, covering the hoo-ha.
Also, at Underworld, I mean, is it just Sarah Lou running it now? Because Nick's gone off. Has Carla quit?
Nick's in hiding. Carla gave it in her notice.
Tell you what, Sarah Lou looking pretty fine this week, wasn't she?
She was looking great.
Tina O'Brien is doing her own makeup a little bit too well at the moment. I thought that she was looking rather ravishing.
One of these celebrity facelifts that's made out of like donkey embryos or something.
One excuse for why she hasn't aged in the past 20 years.
I told you, she sleeps face down in a tub of oil of Ulay at night. That's the only explanation.
Back at home later, Fizz and Tyrone agree that they're going to put the girls first. And then Tyrone, the arsewipe, as soon as Fizz is out hanging the washing up, or whatever it is she's doing out
kind
there,
of domestic task.
He gets on the blower to Alina, going, "Oh, I've missed you so much. I'm going to go upstairs so she doesn't hear me. I'm going to go and maybe let the girls hear me upstairs, saying my sweet nothings and giving my sexy talk to you over the phone." He. And it's been more than once this week where I've thought, oh, maybe Tyrone is realising that he's better the devil stay with Fizz.
Oh yeah.
And then he scurries off. You know what I mean. And then he scurries off like a naughty schoolboy.
It's so sordid and it's so dishonest and cruel. If he doesn't want to be with Fizz, he should just be honest and move out. All this stuff about for the girls seems like a convenient lie that they're both telling each other because they're paralysed to not know what to do next. That's what it feels like. Fizz won't let go and Tyrone won't jump because he hasn't got anywhere to land.
Well, Fizz at this point doesn't realise how deep Tyrone is in with Alina, and I realised halfway through that sentence and that could have come across rather rude.
How unpleasant.
Because she doesn't know that he slept with her. She still is of the opinion that it's an unrequited crush from a middle-aged man who's having some kind of crisis, where actually they've been, running away under the covers. Do you think that if she knew the extent that this relationship has progressed in the week, she'd still allow him to be on the sofa?
She should kick him out. She should kick him out. It's not helping anybody. Staying together for the girls is just a lie.
I feel so bad for her. I think that trying to get Toyah in for some guidance was a noble endeavour. I think she's trying to fight for this relationship that's been going for nearly 10 years. I mean, I wouldn't have organised it in the bistro myself.
No, it did feel like whoever wrote the script or whatever was like, I don't know if therapy. I don't think that's true though. It felt very dismissive of it.
Couldn't Toyah have just come round their house?
I know. I don't understand. It was funny.
I thought Bernie was good.
It felt like a bit of an unnecessary. It felt like they wanted to have this scene so that they could say, "We tried therapy, Fizz, and it didn't work."
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, with the dialogue that they gave Toyah just to make her look a bit of a useless therapist, that the tone of that scene just didn't feel right. And what I've really, really liked about this Tyrone and Fizz story is some of the raw, honest dialogue that we've got from the characters. And this was turning what could have been this could have been really heartfelt, deep scene into
a
just
comedy.
Bernie. Yeah, I'll say it was kind of funny what Bernie was saying, but I wanted more of the the real human drama stuff that would have come from a proper therapy session.
It would have been really interesting, and I don't think they're going to have another therapy session.
Do you remember the last therapy session that I'm remembering on the podcast?
I hate
on the
saying
show,
therapy,
I mean.
it's counselling.
It's counselling or whatever. Didn't Tracy and Steve go to one once? And they went to I'm getting memories of them going to get counselling somewhere, and then we cut back to a scene and the therapy office has been turned upside down and destroyed. Do you remember that? And the pictures are askew and something.
Right, yeah, I think I remember
So
that.
they clearly don't... Corrie must have a thing against therapists, like you said.
Steve, when he was depressed, went to...
Yeah, he did. That's true.
A psychiatrist.
Yeah, it worked for him.
But he took medication, and you can't take a pill to get rid of your boner.
No, you can't.
Maybe you can, but I don't think men would be interested.
Oh dear, Tyrone.
Tyrone, you dirty old man.
Oh, it's horrible. I don't want to hate Tyrone. Bloody script writers. But this is still my favourite story that's going on at the moment.
Assassination. This is the most engaging story.
Tyrone is falling on his sword. That sounds painful as well.
Oh. This is like a car crash, and you can't not look at it.
I really want Fizz and Tyrone to come through this.
I don't want her to take him back. I want her to slam the door in his face and say, you betrayed me on so many levels.
I love them as a couple.
You undermined everything about my life and who I am and who the life we made together. You betrayed all of it. You can't come back.
He needs to seriously grovel. Now, what I enjoyed about this is going back a very long time, the Ken Mike Deirdre thing, and the Wendy Crozier as well, is it. I suppose after the Ken Mike Deirdre, he took her back fairly quickly, didn't he? But when he then strayed off with Wendy, she kicked him out of his life, and he was a massive stalker.
Kicked him out of his life?
Her life, sorry. She was like, I don't want anything to do with you, Ken. Get out. And then he was a massive weirdo stalker for a few years, wasn't he? And he moved into the flat above the shop because he wanted to be on the same street as Deirdre, and he wouldn't leave her alone. And then it took many, many years and a bit of a suicide attempt from Ken for Deirdre to thaw to him. And maybe that's what I want with this, a long-term but eventual reconciliation, because I actually think that they belong together, those
Fizz
two.
can do so much better than this fair weather, sad excuse for a man.
No, I think he can redeem himself.
This is the thing, right?
Kirk, let's say, Kirk is a perfectly, loyal, dopey, obedient kind of guy, but I wouldn't want Fizz to go back to Kirk again. I just don't think that they've got the same spark.
This storyline is like a mirror, or I don't know. Everyone, I think lots of different people who are watching this are seeing something different in it.
Yeah.
And it's all based on your own personal life experience. So I've definitely noticed more men taking Tyrone's side, which is worrying, because it's like, if I was somebody's girlfriend and I saw them on Twitter go, yeah, well, if Alina's up for it, then he should go for it. Like, is that really all that it takes to break up a relationship? But I know that other people who are watching this, who might have had a split with a long-term partner that came out of nowhere, that was really just a falling out of love with one another, will definitely feel more for Tyrone, because the last thing anybody wants to do is be trapped in a marriage. And I think even Fizz would say, I don't want to trap somebody, I don't want him to be unhappy, but there are different ways of going about this, and this is obviously the most dramatic and sensational way for this to happen. You would hope that nobody would do this in real life, because you literally, I can't see any reason why you can't end one relationship before you start a new one. It's not like a drink. You can't have more than one on the go.
So, I mean, do you think that this has turned into a proper full-on affair story? Is Tyrone going to...
What does Alina getting out of this?
Is he going to continue to hide the fact that he's bonking Alina at every available moment?
Alina's a cow.
I know. I'm just thinking. Do you expect that there is going to be a scene where Tyrone and Alina are caught at it? it seems to me that Fizz is going to start to believe, and Hope is going to start to believe that things are going back to normal,
Yeah.
and then just at that moment, maybe where she's about to rebook the Greek wedding,
Yeah.
Evelyn will come back from a trek-in with James and
what's going
catch
on?
the matter. I cannot wait for Evelyn to get back with this story. I mean,
want
I'm
Lena-
loving it enough for it as it is, but to have Alina as there, but
Evelyn,
sorry, I
want
need
Evelyn
to see
to come back
Evelyn
and just, like,
and
shoot
have a
him.
confrontation with Alina right now.
Alina, yeah. Oh, I'd love to see her be like, listen here, you trollop. Who do you think you are, breaking up that family? And then she'd be like, I cannot do that myself. It was Tyrone who decided.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I feel very poorly about Alina, but at the end of the day, she can't break up the relationship. It was Tyrone that did that.
I'm hoping that Tyrone will realise if he tries to shack up with Alina that the grass isn't always greener.
I just want there to be a scene where they're talking, and they're like, they realise they don't have anything in common, really, apart from
they don't.
Cars, dogs.
I think he's going to realise that pretty fast once the novelty wears off, which Bernie was so wisely saying.
That their relationships can be formed under many circumstances, but this has a lot of things going against it. And the fact that they're from different countries, the fact that there's such an age difference, the fact that she just has recently been through a very traumatic period of time that he cannot really relate to, being enslaved, working in a nail salon, worrying about her family. Those aren't things that you couldn't overcome in a relationship, but you need to come to them and understand that they exist, and I don't think Tyrone does.
I don't see why Alina won't just have her head turned by the next fit guy her own age when he comes along.
I don't think he's got the emotional maturity to understand what he's doing. And you're right. What has he got to offer? And what can he offer her?
Garage.
But the thing is, though, what can he offer her that is not going to be depriving Fizz and the girls of something? Because they built this life together under the understanding that they were, like, married and that they shared everything. And then, is he going to take half of everything away from his children?
Is he going to try and...
I don't know. It's just really sad.
I wonder whether he'll want to have
people...
any time with the girls, and then Alina will have to be a mum, or will Fizz not let the girls go to Daddy and Alina's house?
I just want Alina to come face to face with the fact that she's a young, good-looking, attractive, beautiful... I keep saying things that are about to do with her appearance. But she's young.
She's because she's got no personality, as we said.
She's free. She's got her rest of her life ahead of her. Does she want to go into her 20s shackled to a backstreet garage owner with 2 children and an ex-girlfriend who has turned the street against him? Is that what she wants? If that's what she wants, that's fine. But I don't think she realises that's what the deal is going to be.
Better than being a slave.
God. But you know what I mean? Like, it's all very nice, afternoon delight, having a quick shag in the bunk or whatever. But then, next year, is she going to be the one making beans on toast for Ruby and Hope?
Yeah,
do they have beans on toast?
She's going to be cooking him all this Hope Romanian cuisine, and he's like, "Have you got any spaghetti hoops, Alina?"
What, and tripe? Yes, spaghetti and tripe. We're very famous.
Right, who's the granddaddy, Gemma? Ed.
Oh yeah, it's
not
Ed.
Kenba.
This was fantastic. Okay, we know we're a bit of a critic of James on this podcast. If anybody's dumber than Tyrone, it's James. And if anybody's more of a cipher with no personality than Alina, it's James. But to this week...
Yeah, at least Alina likes 2 things, dogs and cars. James,
on Tuesday, Michael tries to get Ed to go out because he's like, get some exercise or whatever. But really, he's waiting for the post. And he doesn't want Ed to be there when it arrives.
For it is the DNA test results.
Ronnie comes over, wants to know if you got the DNA test results yet. No, says Michael. He's really frantic. He wants him to go. He doesn't need him there. He's stressed out. James comes over and Michael tells him about the test. And James is like, you've already got a dad. It doesn't matter what the test results say. Which is like one of these things where it's like, but the results come in, and James is like, I'll read it, because Michael's sitting there just holding it and he won't open the envelope, and he's like, right, I'll read it. He opens the envelope and he's like, it's not what you think. it's Ken Barlow. This is brilliant. Why would you do this, James? You donkey.
James has heard that a classic Corrie fake out is,
it's the thing to do.
par for the course.
He's like,
It's
I
the
want
thing
to
to do.
cement myself as a character on this show. I need to do a typical thing. I've got myself a trial period. Now what?
Yeah, it usually goes with driving tests, James.
Yeah, James, it's not normally DNA test. Then he says, look, it's negative. The results are negative. Ronnie is not your dad. This, to me, is Michael putting a lot of faith in James' ability to read.
I know.
And I
hope that Michael had a look at the papers himself
I really hope so,
afterwards.
because I kind of get the feeling that the first few lines were, "Dear Mr. Bailey, I'm sorry the test results might feel negative to you, but to let you know that Ronnie is your father." I don't think he got much further to the end of the sentence. He's like, "It's negative, hooray!" So
Yeah.
Ed comes home and Michael tells him that he did take the test. And Ed's like, first of all, he's happy to know that he's we don't actually know. We assume that he's the dad. All we know is that Ronnie is definitely not the dad. And he's like, yeah, Ronnie's not my dad.
Who else has Aggie
Well, this is what I mean. Maybe
popping off
do you know
with
the other thing
in
is?
his 80s.
Maybe James was right, and it is say Ken Barlow. And the Weatherfield,
He's put it about a bit back
the
then.
Weatherfield DNA Bank is like we test everyone to see if it's Ken Barlow or Steve McDonald. We've just got them on file just in case. So he's like, yeah. So he tells Ed, and Ed's relieved, but then he immediately, all the emotions come flooding back, and he is just cross and upset that he lied and he said he wouldn't do it and he did it anyway. Ronnie comes over and Ed's like, "Hey, I'm the dad and you're not. Go away and bog off down south with your stupid hat and leave me with my son and my grandchild that you try to steal." And Ronnie's like, "Oh, I love you, Ed, I'm sorry," and then he leaves. But this was really nice. I like this story. This was lots of emotions, lots of great performances. Everyone acted quite honestly to their characters, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
This was great.
Great bit of phone acting from Lorna.
On Wednesday, there's a bit of early morning friction between
Tyrone and
Tyrone. No, Michael and Ed, he's still annoyed about the test. Michael finds out from Seb that Paul and Ed were up playing cards last night, and they start to get worried because
Ed said he was working late or something, didn't he?
Ed is the reason that they even live in Coronation Street, in case we have forgotten, is that Ed gambled all the family money away, and they had to move from their lovely, great, big, nice house to this little terrace place where the staircase isn't even finished yet. And maybe Ed is now turning to his old vices to cope with the stress of being tested, to find out if he's the dad. So Michael has a go at Ed for doing this, and Ed's like, "Oh, it's easier than spending the same night under the night under the same roof as my son."
That's not an Ed Bailey voice. My son.
Shut up.
He does a great laugh later, doesn't he? Michael does an impression of him as well in one of the episodes this week.
I love Ed's voice. It's fantastic.
I do as well.
Ronnie corners Ed in speed dial saying he wants to help, and if he says if you're not careful, you're gonna gamble away Aggie and the kids. It's not just about money anymore, it's about losing your family. Aggie, meanwhile, phones James and says Ed has taken £1,000 out of their savings account, and they're like, "Oh no, he's gambling. Ed comes home later and Aggie's on the phone call with Michael, and he's like, "Oh, come outside." I can't do it. I don't want to.
Come outside. I've got something to show you. Is it?
What are you like?
I can't. It's a bit Lenny Henry.
Stop it. They come outside and he has bought a really clapped out VW camper van. The classic one that everybody wanted 10 years ago, which we hired for our wedding, which broke down before I could get a chance.
Yes.
And I was
we
driven.
We were driven to the wedding in Gemma's dad's car.
It wasn't even my dad's car. He rented it, and he rented a Skoda. I'm not.
All the memories.
And if anyone thought I was a snob, because I can come across as a bit of a snob, then there you go. What does that prove? I don't know. Anyway, so he's got the camper van. This does the trick. Aggie's like, yay, I can't wait to come home so we can hit the open road together. And everyone's like, oh dear, this is going to be a bit of work. There's going to be scenes of like Tracy and Steve going, oh, come, you got this on the road. Come, get it off the road. It's an eyesore. People are going to be complaining. Abby and Kevin are giving advice. You won't take it. I can see all the stories. There's lots of potential.
I think Mary's going to swoop in and claim squatters' rights.
It reminds me of when I used to be in my camper van.
I think that was I thought it was a very satisfying ending. And I know it was a little bit quick and it was a bit twee. And yes, I've seen people criticise the fact that Ed's took £1,000 out of their joint account and made this fairly sizable purchase without consulting Aggie, and they're already having money problems. But I say screw it. I thought it was a really nice family ending, and just like the bit where Aggie's there on the phone, she's like, turn me around so I can see. I just thought it was lovely and sweet and bondy.
It was. And listen, this is the sort of lovely married couple thing that we want to see on the show.
Yeah.
If only Tyrone had bought a clapped out VW camper van for him and Fizz.
Do you remember that time he bought her a moped?
Who could forget? I wonder if he's going to buy Alina a moped.
Maybe. Yeah, I thought that was a really lovely ending. Actually.
It was whimsical and fun and a bit fantastical.
Neatly tied up, but it's like it has made the whole thing was neatly tied up. And are you disappointed or relieved that Ed's the dad, or that Ronnie's not the dad? Because in a way it's good. I don't need the drama of Ronnie being the dad. And Ronnie hasn't really grown on me. But
I quite like him.
He's okay. He's fine. But
it does make the whole thing like, yeah.
What was that about then?
But I guess
everything's back to where it was.
But that's okay because we've got a new Bailey.
And you got a new baby. Yeah. I wonder whether Ronnie's going to be hanging about. I mean, is he going to try and steal Aggie away? Is he going to try and convince her that Ed's gambling again?
Yeah, is he the antagonist of the Bailey family?
Yeah, because he seems really pointless. I mean, they could just... I mean, he says he's got work there, hasn't he? So he's going to be hanging around in Weatherfield for a little while.
He could very well be the anchor point for making the Baileys integrate a bit more and have a bit more interaction.
Somebody's
because he's
the
loose cannon of the Bailey family. He's not part of the family unit. He's going to be socialising more with other people, and that's going to drag the Baileys into other people's orbits. This is what I think could happen. And I also think the van is going to do that as well, because it's outside, it's on the street, it's a reason for the Baileys to be standing around on the pavement.
Although, did we see it in tonight's episode?
No. But I'm optimistic. I think hopefully they've realised that they've made them a bit too separate.
Do you think that Ronnie's got it in him to be a villain? Because although he has been the catalyst
I didn't say villain,
for much
I said
drama,
antagonist.
He seems like he's got a good heart. Really, he wanted to know the truth.
Yes,
and
that's why I like.
Rubbed these other characters up the wrong way.
As much as I like villains, I always say that Coronation Street needs the antagonists, and all they are just
He's
things...
no Mike Baldwin.
Yeah, but all an antagonist does is do something that the protagonist doesn't want to happen, and creates conflict. That's what you want, people creating conflict all the time.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that he's permanently going to be like that, because you can be an antagonist sometimes in one story and not in another.
Yeah, but you're right, they need to pair Ronnie up with somebody.
I think he's taken a shine to Jenny.
Yeah, that's true actually, because he's living in the Rovers.
Yeah.
But surely Johnny's got to come out at some point soon. Maybe we're going to have Johnny versus Ronnie. Johnny, Ronnie and Jenny. There's another mouthful.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what other eligible ladies of... I mean, who knows if Ronnie wants to what age bracket he's after. Well, apparently he's open season in Coronation Street.
He's a bit of a charmer. I think he could attract a wide range. Maybe Eileen, because things don't go down too well with her and George this week, do they? We're on to the short stories now. I know this is an extra long street talk for our extra lengthy week on Coronation Street, so we'll whiz through the last three.
I'm just wondering whether Ronnie and Evelyn. Just saying, just wild card.
Maybe. Oh, Arthur, come back, Arthur.
Oh, Snarky and George.
I hope that Evelyn and James. Is James that she's not James, her friend's James, that they've gone off on a bit of globe trotting with. Yeah. Maybe Canada is one of their stops.
Maybe.
I can only hope so, because they are away for a long time. Anyway, Snarky and George. So George is really pleased with Todd, who's got in early to the undertaker's to polish his coffin. That's not a euphemism either. And Todd always tells him about how much... Todd tells him, about how much his mum is always banging on about how classy and dignified George is, and he likes the sound of that. So Todd kind of basically spends the episode... Well, he was only in about 4 scenes or so, playing Cupid with Eileen and George. And he tells Billy, who's hanging around there... I suppose he's going out with Todd now, isn't he? That... this might mean that he gets his foot in the door more at the Undertaker's, one foot in the grave, as it were. And maybe if George and Eileen, if it goes the right way, they can become a nice little family business.
I love the fact that Billy is sitting there listening to this and doesn't put 2 and 2 together and go, oh gosh, did you manipulate me into going out with you? He just tells him.
All of this, isn't he?
Billy is one of the
I'm a master criminal and strategist.
This is my current scam.
Yeah. I've just finished a scam, so I'm now
looking for
this
a
is
new
my next
scam.
one. Yeah. Anyway, so George gets invited round for a pie for his tea.
Yummy.
And Mary can see that Eileen's all aflutter at the thought of this new man in her life. So she shows up at the Rovers to meet George, and he's got some flowers there, and he's quite nice and soppy and lovely. And I was thinking, okay, this could work. This is quite nice.
Snake and pygmy.
Snake and pygmy pie. Oh yeah, that's what Mary calls it.
But it's not
isn't
PC.
it? No. You throw me right off track there. Anyway, the punchline of this all is that when she takes this beautiful bouquet of flowers from him, and it's the classic... done millions of times before,
even on Coronation. It's funny.
I didn't see it coming though, and I still laughed like drain at it, even if it was completely cliche. But she looks in and sees that there's a card in there, and she's like, "Oh, is this for me? What's the card
say?" Don't want to open that.
Oh, R.I.P. Mildred, you'll be missed. And it's like, I thought that was funny. I thought that was great.
Silly.
It was utterly silly, and it was like, come on, George. And it's also stringing out this relationship that feels like it's been bubbling away there for 6 months
This
now.
is the will they won't they that nobody asked for.
It really, really is. And I kind of hoped before this scene that this was, they were committing to it.
We just kind of want him to get on with it.
Off it. We do. Because I think they could be quite nice together. But I thought that was hilarious. And Eileen's reaction was great. And she throws the flowers behind her, and George is just left there looking a bit like suitably shamed. I thought it was great. It's sad that we didn't see any more of that this week, though.
No, Faye put away next storyline only really on Friday. We learned more about Craig as well in this one. So he comes down the stairs, Sally and Tim's. He stayed overnight without them knowing, followed by Faye, and they're a bit shocked. They want to take her off for the day to take her mind off the court hearing, but she has already arranged to spend the day with Craig.
Oh, could be our last day together before I get chucked in slammer.
Tim's worried because Ray's plea hearing is today, and what happens to Faye relies on whether Ray pleads
There's too many
guilty.
bloody rhyming names in this. Faye and Ray, Tina and Alina and Nina.
I know.
Yeah,
So Jess turns up. Now you probably remember Jess's face. She was in it 2017.
Yeah, that was a blast from the past, wasn't it?
She was in a handful of episodes. She was Craig's mentor when he first joined the police force, and she gave him a little bit of a test, didn't she? When he first joined the force, they got off on a bad foot because he got mad that she was drinking out of his coffee cup, and he didn't realise that she was going to be his supervisor, and she was suspicious of him because he recorded evidence for the trial for Bethany.
Yeah, so she was involved in the Bethany trial.
Yeah, and the evidence was recorded, and not collected properly, and she didn't like this, and so she tested Craig by saying, "I'm going to take a phone call. You stay here by yourself for 5 minutes."
Personal phone call.
And he's like, "I don't think that's allowed." And then she's like, "You've passed my test. You're on the up and up."
Yeah,
so
I completely trust you're going to be a brilliant copper, and you'll never do anything bending the rules or tell anyone anything that you shouldn't tell anyone ever again. And then she's taken her eyes off the ball for 3 years or something, and just look what he's
just do what you want. I don't care. Anyway, so we
didn't remember that, by the way. We did look at her Corriepedia entry before we recorded
Michael,
this
don't
podcast.
tell them that. We're supposed to be professional.
I think my performance in the quiz at the beginning of today's podcast
true.
shows that I've got no idea what I'm talking about.
So he's got an attachment in CID.
Yeah, an attachment. That's the word I was thinking of earlier. So he's not going to be a proper copper in disguise. He's just going to be helping out the detectives.
All of this just seems like code for you do the same work as normal, but you don't get paid.
Which was like when he was being a special constable for all that time.
This is what they're doing with teachers and teaching assistants, getting teaching assistants to do teaching, which is really wrong in my opinion because they're not being paid properly. I don't like this.
We couldn't have done without them, and during the last year,
teaching assistants are a really important part of the teaching team, but I think that they're being taken advantage of by being asked. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody gets you to do a job that is normally paid at a higher compensation rate than you,
much higher.
Don't do it. You're being a sucker. You're being asked to do something because it's cheap. I think it's wrong. And I think this is what's going on here. I think Jess is like, come on, be my little flying monkey for me, Craig. Jess is a bit concerned to find out that Craig doesn't seem to have a problem with the fact that his girlfriend, that he's just literally just shacked up with, I've got a court case coming up for beating a man to death, nearly. And she says it's a professional standards breach that you're dating a criminal and you haven't disclosed
she tells him that he needs to tell professional standards branch.
Well, it's a breach of professional standards.
Yes.
So tell the branch. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell them. Also, she's the victim here and they won't care. So I won't bother telling them. Idiot. I can't believe, honestly, Craig is dumb. Like... I know we know this.
Poor Craig.
But like
he's borne the brunt of it.
Normally
today.
He's like stupid in a really compliant way. Why is he being stupid in a breaking the rules for no reason?
He's a really, really nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
He's
nice
lovely. Coulson's great. He's really nice but dim. I just don't.
Craig seems like the sort of person
policing is the
who
job he's cut out for.
Literally furrows his brow for hours on end, contemplating why one would ever become a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, why would you when you could be good? You know what I mean? He just seems very idealistic and a bit lack of imagination, shall I say. So Craig tells Kirk about his detecting. Kirk's very chuffed because it's his stepson. And Craig says, don't tell everybody. And also, like, Faye's probably going to ruin this for me because I think I've seen something on a soap mag about it. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it would go on the front cover. Craig comes around to Sally and Tim's garden party where they're having a delicious bowl of Russian salad.
Not potato salad.
I was thrilled to hear about this because I actually have heard of Russian salad before and I would quite like to try it.
You said that there were pickles in it and Sally didn't put pickles in her Russian salad.
Can I tell you that is true, that you should generally put dill pickles in there. And you can also put in hot dogs.
Oh.
Originally, it was prepared for a restaurant, and the chef was called Olivier or something, and now it's called an Olivier salad. And it was a secret recipe, and somebody stole it off of him, and then he printed it. But basically, it's just mayonnaise and eggs and potatoes and...
No, so much.
And bits. It used to have things like grouse and tongue and very exotic kind of expensive meats.
Now it's just got peas.
Now it's just... Sally, why are there peas? Oh, it's just Russian. Get it? That's a great pun. Oh, God, I've been waiting all podcasts. I wrote it down on my hand.
Come on.
It's not about the salad, Gemma. Get on with it. It's the garden party that's the important thing.
No, it's not. It's the fact that Ray has
pled guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not innocent.
So this
didn't do it,
is
Governor.
Bad because it throws into question everything that Faye is going to say in her trial.
Oh yeah, Tim was hoping that he would say, yeah, fair cop. I did try to do it. I did try to rape her, and then the judge would hopefully be more lenient in Faye and the whole Barlow bashing saga of New Year's Eve. Would
be brushed under the carpet, but now not.
Yeah.
Faye needs a moment. She rushes off. Craig chases after her. They end up in Victoria Gardens. He tries to reassure her, and she says, "Oh, I'm so lucky to have you."
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think she's going to get sent down?
Feels
like maybe she will now.
Like, I understand. I think I said this before. I understand in Coronation Street, like, going to prison is literally no barrier to achieving anything or doing anything. But I can't believe how laissez-faire she is. Like, I was stressed out before my maths GCSE. If this is going to prison, I wouldn't be able to sit down.
Yeah.
I'd be I'd be down the doctors demanding whatever tranquilizers they can shoot into my eyeballs.
But again, on classic Corrie, and I know I don't. It's not always good to compare it, but Deirdre is on the cusp, on the brink of her John Lindsay trial at the moment in ITV3, and she is totally bricking it.
Yeah,
like I could be in prison, and Faye
is worried about it, but it seems like more of a like.
Ironically, Faye is not phased.
No, she doesn't seem to be. It's like, a
bit.
She seems to be more like, I don't know how long I'm going to be in there.
It's probably because she's been hearing from Gary that it's all right, really.
I mean, I'm sure it is. It's not the end of the world to go to prison, really, in the show.
She did have that little pep talk from Abby and Sally, didn't she? Both of them came out relatively unscathed.
I guess so. I don't know if I don't. On the one hand, it's really nice to destigmatise people who have gone to prison, because as a society we should be saying once you've done your stretch, we forgive you, you move on, you know. On the other hand, like, is this not just making this seem like no big deal, and is that bad? Like, should we really be saying that? I think
Faye is the sort of person who would feel some kind of sense of you know, getting what she deserves if she had the prison stretch.
Yeah.
Because
she did try to kill him.
She did, yeah, and she feels guilty about that. And I think if she went and did her time, it wouldn't be eating at her inside.
Do you think she will go to prison?
It feels like maybe they will.
Definitely.
It seems like before, it doesn't feel like we'll notice if she's gone, and there may well be scenes with her in prison, which I don't know whether I want to see that or not, because I'm not particularly fussed about Faye. What I might be interested in is what's going on with Craig and Jess back, because they haven't brought Jess in for no reason. Surely they haven't just brought her in to say, oh, you shouldn't be going out with her. And it almost felt to me when Craig said, yeah, I am going out with Faye actually, and Jess looked a bit disappointed, and I think it's probably supposed to be that she was disappointed to hear that he was dating a dirty criminal, that maybe she fancies Craig a little bit, especially, you know, he's slimmed down a bit over the year, he's become a little bit more desirable. So is Faye going to get locked away and then Jess move in and you know, try and sweep Craig away, maybe?
The only other thing I want to add here, that's a good point. The other thing I want to add here is that I think this is a refreshing examination of the consequences of actually going to prison. Because in Coronation Street, as I've said already, even just now, there really doesn't seem to be any, you know, the bad bit about going to prison is that you have to go and sit somewhere else, and, you know, bad food and people are mean to you, perhaps. But other than that, there's no stigma, there's no negative consequences, you don't get fired, you earn a living the same as everybody else, nobody checks up on you. There's never seems to be a consequence beyond actually the physical act of going to prison.
If you ever happen to have the Rovers fall into your lap, you can't have your name above the door.
That's literally it. But now, this thing about Craig and the conflict between his career and his girlfriend, at last we're seeing something that's a bit different, that is actually a real life consequence of something like this.
Do you think that he's going to keep it quiet, that he's going out with her again? If she actually gets sent down and he doesn't say anything about it, then there's a story in there.
Trouble. You shouldn't lie. But this is what I mean. I don't know where this is going, but all I'm saying is I find it very refreshing that Coronation Street is finally looking a bit more at other consequences of a prison sentence.
Yeah. I wonder whether if Faye does get sent down for this, Gary will finally be allowed out. Because everybody's known that he wasn't the one that hit Adam for, you know, a good 2 months, 3 months at least now. He's there for lying about it, but come on.
Let him out. Everyone lies on Coronation Street.
Let's get that story back on the road again, because I just want them to get it over with.
Let's get R. Kelly's dad out of the ground.
Seb and Nina had a little bit of a story today after getting a bit of a wink from Abby, which was quite funny. Abby was
fantastic. Again.
Nina tells Seb that she's off to some kind of goth gig, and I didn't write the band name down. Not Luigi.
Lugosi's Revenge.
And he kind of wants to be invited, but she's not picking up on the hint here. Or rather, she just doesn't think it's his scene, so why even bother trying? So Abby says to Seb, just ask her to go along. So he does, and she's like, you can't go dressed like that in your pink t-shirt with your bulging pecs poking out, or you'll get laughed out of the stadium.
Are they really that narrow-minded?
I don't know. I don't want.
I wouldn't have
I don't
thought
want to cast any aspersions
No,
on
but
goths because they might put a curse on me.
I'm saying I think goths are a bit more open-minded than to shun somebody for not wearing all black.
I don't know. Anyway, he's kind of getting used to the idea, and maybe he's going to have to wear something, you know,
Black.
a little bit black. And Abby at the end of the episode says, "I have a plan." But we
What's
don't
she
get to
gonna-
find
what's she
out
gonna
what this
do?
plan is. Maybe she's going to try and get that wedding dress off of Carla and
Yeah.
stick Seb in it or
Or
something.
maybe she'll get Maria's lion costume dyed black.
Maybe. I don't know.
Get him a fake nose ring. This reminds me of when...
If we don't see Harry Visioni dressed up in full goth gear on Monday's episode,
be
I'm going to be a
exciting.
little bit disappointed.
Or is he going to dye his gravy waterfall black?
I want to see them go there.
This reminds me of when Craig Harris... Was it
Yeah,
Rosie?
those
They
two
were
goths it up.
goths. And they were kind of... It's kind of funny. Because it's like...
Goths are funny to laugh at,
No,
aren't
because
they?
it's they're posing. They were like really self-consciously trying to
Yeah, I know.
be
what you mean.
goths.
Yeah, it could be fun. I mean, we're obviously not going to see the gig or anything like that.
I
I'm
flirted
sure we'll
with
hear all about it.
I flirted with gothdom myself, you know, Michael. I just never could really commit. But I remember in Southampton, I don't know if you're of a certain age. There's probably like 2 people listening who know what I'm talking about. In the precinct, back when HMV was there, when we used to have these big, there used to be these big, like raised beds with like trees and stuff and plants in them. And opposite HMV was where all the goth kids would hang out on at the weekend, and they were always like, "Oh, it's a bit scary. They're all wearing black and they're cooler than I am. They might laugh at me because I've just bought the Will Smith album." Big Willie style. That was what I remember buying that. I didn't want to get 15
That's
quid.
funny.
That was very expensive.
Yeah, that reminded me. I was noticing the CDs that they had on sale in the cabin in
Yeah.
today's episode, wasn't I? Well, they got Shania Twain there and a few others. And I was like, does anybody ever buy any of those? Why?
And do you think, right, when they finally sell that Shania Twain CD, is something going to come up on her phone? Like, she's like, "Oh, yes, 18 pence commission. Finally, I've been waiting to sell that final one."
Don't impress me much. I give it a shot. My dad used to love Shania Twain.
I think everyone
He'd
did.
buy it. Right. That is it. I mean, but that's relatively long. And Longer Street's what we've done in a long while, but it could have gone on for longer. And there was a lot of
We've
lot of
spoken
major
about
dramatic
a lot
stuff that
of-
happened this week.
we had
haven't
marriage,
I need
wedding.
a cup of tea.
Me too.
We will
So
have one before we go
what
on
do
to
you
the
think
cabin.
about this week? 'Cause it
I'm
was kind of... Last week, we panned it, didn't we? We said it was rubbish.
You
It's
panned it more.
unfortunate that these episodes from Monday were not in last week's, because it would have changed
Monday's
my opinion.
episode was probably my favourite of the week, and I think that probably would have added a whole extra point to my score last
I
week.
agree
To
with
be
you.
to be
I would
honest,
have probably given
I
it
thought
a
that
3.
Tuesday and Wednesday this week weren't anything to write home about particularly. I couldn't be doing with that Zoom call.
Personally, I think that the stories
And all
have
the
given me
trolling.
a lot to talk about, and I think sometimes it's the extra stuff that you get out of watching it more than the episodes themselves that makes the show entertaining, right? So I've had lots of discussions with people this week about lots of these topics and seeing what people think. And honestly, I'm going to say, I hold my hands up, the most annoying thing about the Tyrone story is not really necessarily the story, but how some people are like supporting him, and that's what's driving me crazy. But I like hearing different people's opinions because it helps me to learn about other people and why they might think what they think. So I really want to score this week highly because it has generated so much discussion.
I'm not giving it highly, but it was. I'm going to give it 3 saggy gussets out of 5 this week.
This
I think.
Coronation Street's like Coronation Street's Ty and Alina story is like their equivalent of clickbait. Like, you know you're not going to like it, and you click on it anyway, and then you're like, this is really annoying me because I feel cheated now.
3 saggy gussets from me.
I am going to give it 3.5 fronted
Ooh.
adverbials because
yeah.
this was something you had a bee in your bonnet about, didn't you?
Oh, not particularly. I've seen other people online having a bee in their bonnet about
Oh, you're
Tyrone
right, yeah.
crowing about how awesomely written Hope's Easter diary was in a little red exercise book, which when they had a zoom in of it didn't have her name on the front. So I don't know how great a writer she really is. But yeah, Tyrone was saying, oh, you should have seen it. It was great, and it had full of fronted adverbials. And people are saying, what the hell's the fronted adverbial? I had to look this up. I've got an A level in English, and I don't know what a fronted adverbial is.
Coronation Street doesn't know what they're talking about.
Why would Tyrone know what a fronted
know.
adverbial is? He came in the show and he was illiterate, and Ken Barlow had to teach him to read. I think if you're a parent
of a child this age,
of a child who's 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, you're going to be hearing about relative clauses, fronted adverbials, subordinating conjunctions, because that sadly is what literacy has become.
They've ruined
in writing.
English. If I was at school
the system has kind of ruined English a little bit.
If I was at school now, I would hate English.
And children are talking it, and their work is praised if it has
children are talking it.
Well, they're talking this language and the grammatical terms and everything.
Okay.
When I love a bit of grammar, me. I'm a massive nerd for stuff like that. But you don't know what a fronted adverbial is.
I've got no idea what it is. What is it?
It's just
don't tell me. I don't care.
I could, but I won't. And the fact that Tyrone is saying full of fronted adverbials, I would say that, a parent might very well say that if their child's target is to use fronted adverbials and they're getting fronted adverbials and they're having homework about fronted adverbials, it is common parlance, sadly.
Yes.
among primary
So if you thought it
children.
was a bit far-fetched, this is probably the most realistic Coronation Street's been about a child's education for the past 20 years.
Yes, so there we go.
So well done well done, Corrie, for getting that in.
Character of the week, Tyrone, Gemma?
No.
I
don't know.
No, I haven't thought about it particularly yet. I mean, Nick, Leanne, Peter. I might go for Peter because he wanted to show some kind of investment in Simon's dodginess once he found out what naughty capers he'd been up to. He kept on going. He fought. I mean, he collapsed at the very end of the week, but he was on the brink pretty much throughout the whole week. But he wanted to get to the church, didn't he? He wanted to get himself hitched again. He wanted that ring on his finger, and he wasn't going to let anybody, Daniel Osborne, tell him that he couldn't do it. He is just a very resilient soul, I would say. So, I'm going to give Peter my character of the week this week.
I'm going to annoy people. I'm going to make a controversy.
You gave it Peanut last week, so that was
Peanut
controversial enough.
I'm going to give this to Nick.
That's fine.
I know, but people are mad at Nick because he abandoned Sam. But I don't always pick the characters who do the best deeds.
No.
I pick the characters that are interesting, and I think that this is a real turning point in the character development for Nick here. And this is going to provide a lot of fuel for stories for him coming up, because Natasha ain't going to like this, and she's not going to let him forget that he betrayed his son. But I'm fascinated by characters that have to choose between two really important things to them, and he really did have to pick between Sam and Leanne this week, and nobody pressured him to make this choice. Leanne wasn't doing the whole I understand if you pick Sam over me. Like, she was like, I know you're going to stay with Sam, see you later.
Yeah.
And he picked her, and I just really liked him reminding Leanne and everybody at home, I've loved you for 23 years. Might not have always had the same face, but the character of Nick has loved the character of Leanne on and off for 23 years
on
in
and
the show.
off is the key.
And I think that's really fascinating, and it's so sad that he had to make that choice, and I just thought it was great. And Ben Price did a great job, not Nick Price. And so Nick.
Lovely, well done. I think
we're done
with this now.